The first rule in grip sport is you tell everyone about grip sport.
You're crushing pinch grip, thick bar, wrists.
If the best guy in the world can't lift 100 pounds on it, I don't give a shit about it.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Grip Show. So I won't say long-time guest, but yeah, probably by now. I mean, I've been doing the show about 2.5 years, coming up on about 3 years almost, Adam. But yeah, Adam Glass going to join me again, and we don't really have anything fully planned out, but usually that is how the best episodes or best content gets created. We're just going to kind of go into some different subjects and see where everything takes us. So yeah, Adam, I'll just, you don't need to reintroduce yourself, but yeah, just give us a little bit of an update on how you've been doing, what's going on, and then we can kind of get into the show.
And I'll tell you, it's been a really big year of looking to see where do I want to be in 5 years. I would say that is what really brought my last couple months together, was asking questions simply like, how do I want to be eating? How do I want to be sleeping? How do I want to be feeling in a couple of years from right now? And that was during a period where I was thinking, man, I'm not super happy with how I've been feeling. So when I took on a new job last year, and we got extremely busy, and it was very, very profitable business, but I fell into this loop where it's like, okay, you're waking up at 4 a.m., you're getting home 8, 9, 10 p.m., you're averaging 5-6 hours of sleep on the good days, and on the average days, you're really closer to 4. Especially in the last year, I probably had more fast food meals than I've maybe had in the last 5 years. Like normally I cook all of my meals, and it just that wasn't something that was working out. So as I was hitting December, I was saying, okay, it's like everything, man, is if you ask a person, what are you going to change? And they say, I don't know. Then the answer is okay, the next undefined amount of time is essentially going to be identical to what you've already done, just maybe a little bit harder. And you could then, come back to the same spot, or you could begin making changes. And of course that might be harder. The difference is the trajectory changes. So, for me, man, I feel like the 3 biggest shifts that came about was bringing myself to find out what is the way of eating that actually is going to work with 60, 70, 80-hour work week, because there's a whole bunch of great ways to eat that are proven, there's evidence, but man, they just kind of fall apart if you're not able to do certain things. I have friends that they say you're lean year round, but the way they do that, for example, is they're walking around with a fucking cooler of food and they're eating every couple hours. And I'm going to tell you now, for me, that's just not going to work. It simply is not going to work. The amount of effort that could go into making that work would seem pretty foolish, and especially in the construction industry, we don't stop just because it's time to eat, so it didn't work that way. I think the second biggest change dealt with alcohol. And that's actually one of the big areas that I want to open up here, because so what a lot of people would probably tell themselves is they either have a drinking problem or they don't. And when someone says they have a drinking problem, what they typically would mean at that point is that some constellation of events and facts and activities has formed in a way that now their drinking is the center point of a problem, and they're going to have to choose to either deal with it or not deal with it. Okay, now I'm going to say something crazy, Zach. If that's happening, you don't have a drinking problem. Now you have a decision problem. Okay, here's who has a drinking problem. I had a drinking problem. And what do I mean? Well, I could come home, drink a 6-pack, finish out the evening, go to bed. Tomorrow, the next day, come home, drink a 6-pack, get my chores, activities done, cook meals. Okay. And the thing is nobody had a problem with me drinking a 6-pack every single evening. that's a drinking problem. You got a drinking problem when nobody's got a problem with it. Okay. If I drink, my own opinion, I'm pretty pleasant to be around. I'm nasty. I don't talk shit to nobody. I don't create no fucking problems. Most of the time, if I'm drinking, I hit a point that I either like to talk or I like to just shut the fuck up and listen to somebody else. The problem is there's nobody I knew that was legit saying like, hey man, it seems like you might be drinking every day. Not that you're causing any problems, but you might be drinking every day. And it's like, oh yeah, I am drinking every day. And one of the realizations for me was, dude, the next 5 years could very easily go by and I really could be drinking. I could work my way up to a 10 to 12 pack on any given day. And same thing. Hey, I make the money. I'm not neglecting to get things done in my lifestyle. I'm never late for work. I'm not showing up hungover. But that was when it occurred to me, like, bro, this might be actually the worst place to be. Not that I've crashed my car or wrecked my marriage and all, that happens to me. But what I'm saying is, if I had to categorize by risk, the person who could drink all the time and nobody has an issue with it, they might be in the worst lane of all. Because that can be how you end up being a person who literally drinks every day for the next decade. And everyone's thing is they might not agree with that, but they don't have a problem because you're not a problem. So that change for me was huge. For me today, so let's see, guys, we're recording. What are we on the 15th today, bro? 15th February?
Yeah. Yep.
So for me, I'm at 40, what would I be at? 48 or 49 days sober right now. And for me, bro, the last time I had not had a drink in almost 50 days was the last time I lived in Iraq for a year back in 2006. So for me, that's been a great change. And, I feel fortunate because I was not someone that had any kind of I've seen people that had the terrible withdrawals, like they were truly in pain, man. I didn't have anything like that. And it has made it, of course, very easy when you take that away to start moving some other pieces around. But I will say, just my opinion for the guys listening, if you're finding yourself in a position and you really are drinking more than once or twice a week, and I get it, you're not a problem for anybody. You need to ask yourself, what kind of problem is that going to be for you, though, in the long run? And I think really the biggest area for a lot of us, especially those of us that are entering into more middle-age years, that you just don't occur, is it probably doesn't occur to you how much this has damaged sleep schedule, how much it has changed your metabolism. And I think that, the only way for a person to really get it would be to bring themselves to the point that they're not doing that and see what changes. For me, the most important change that I had was being able to do uninterrupted sleep. So what I was very used to doing would be get in bed at 11:30 or 11:45. And then I would have this moment, bro, that like 2:33 a.m., I would wake up and I'm like fucking awake. And what that is, man, that's all that sugar hitting your blood from your liver doing its job of trying to keep your ass alive by breaking down, and I would think like, fuck, okay, I actually don't need to get up for another hour. And this, probably the worst place to be is a guy who wakes up an hour before an alarm. And then you're telling yourself, I still need to get some more sleep. So you try to sleep one more hour, and that's just always bullshit. Like you always wake up feeling a little bit worse. And I feel like that has been tremendously beneficial. Just being able to, like, for example, when I lay down, I fall asleep probably within 3-4 minutes. And then when I wake up, like, I am ready to get up and get out of bed and get going with the day. So for me, that's been huge. And then the other change really was looking at, so, Zach, one of the reasons I was successful when I think about from being a teenager to my late 30s and just being incredibly consistent with training was I had that rule of always have some kind of event on the calendar. Even if you're not particularly excited about it, give yourself some event to keep training for. And that doesn't work for everybody, because if you don't care, you don't care. But for me, that was like, hey, if I'm gonna do the work to do a show, to do a meet, even if it's literally here at my house, if I got to go through the effort of staging the place, getting the weights ready, doing the check-in for the attendance, you have other people that they're spending their time and energy to get here to do it right. And the challenge that I came into, really what I want the next few years to look like, is what will be the way that you keep going if you don't have something on the schedule. It's ideas like, okay, what is maintenance that's relevant? Because for a lot of us, you're the same way. If you're going to do something, you want to do it great. You don't
Yeah.
you want to be the guy that's like, oh yeah, I do a 15-minute workout daily or something. And there's people the ones that are succeeding on that, that's awesome. That's very powerful. And I reached some answers with that. That's made a really big change. And it's funny how much of a shift it's made. So for me, man, so since end of December to today, I'm down about 35 pounds of body fat. I have a badass scale that it probably measures 40 different data points for me. My pant size is down like hugely. I'm getting into pairs of jeans I didn't fit into for the last 5 years. It's been very, very nice how much has changed sleep. My muscle mass readings are up about 15 pounds, and that is with me only lifting once and twice a week right now. And my lifting sessions are about 40 minutes, but I mean, they just absolutely kick the shit out of me. I actually, before we jumped on the call today, I went into the session, and it was like a 31-minute session, and I feel fucking annihilated right now just sitting here.
Okay. What kind
Um,
of stuff are you training? Just
uh,
curious.
a lot of it right now is more centered on heavy partials for pretty stupid amount of reps done pretty fast. So one of the things that I'm looking at doing is what kind of stimulus can I get that produces measurable changes in bone density and measurable changes in tendon health. And this has been working absolutely fantastic. So my measurable results that the scale can produce is like up 15 pounds of measurable muscle mass. Bone density is up 1.5 pounds, which is pretty fucking good in like 6 weeks. And then the numbers that I lift now have just, I mean, absolutely stupid. And the thing that I like about it is that it's very easy to see how easily this carries on, particularly when my schedule returns back into some of these 70 and 80-hour work weeks, when some of our big projects are coming up that, so in DFW, everything is just so incredibly hard to get to by drive time. It may only be 50 miles away, but it may take 2 hours to drive that 50 miles because there's 10 million people in a city built for 5, right? So for me, I can't get myself into a predicament where it's like, man, this program feels great, but I have to train 40 minutes 6 days a week. That will not work, because I guarantee you, when I hit a day that I worked 13 hours on site, had 5 total hours of driving, the last thing I'm going to want to do is be fucking around in a gym at 9:30 at night, right? So this has been a great middle ground for me. And one of the things that it's really opened up for me to understand is, okay, Zach, I want you to think for a second. And it's a funny year because we just had this big flip even coming down from the big nasty federal government on this. You start thinking, what are the things a person is supposed to eat? What are you not supposed to eat? What about words like healthy? And for me, I really wanted to just challenge a lot of those ideas and start with, okay, what are the things I know that I will do? Like for me, man, I've never seen a salad I wanted to eat, and that will probably never change. I don't give a shit about lettuce and that. And, for me, raised a lot of animals. And I will say this, okay? If you had an animal and you loved it, the quickest way to keep it around the longest is to feed it species appropriately without deviating. And the quickest way to fuck it up and kill it fast is to do the opposite of that. So if you look at something like horses, horses in the wild likely will have a lifespan, and it would depend where they're at, environmental factors, but you'd predict 10 to 15 years, with the big problem being as soon as they start to slow down or if they get an extremity injury, that one's going to be done. But horses in captivity, like here in my county, we may have the most rodeo participants in America in a 50-mile circle of my house. I don't know how many horses are around here, but the number would be into the tens of thousands, like immediately. Like even from my house, which you can't see neighbors from my house, I can see fucking horses, bro. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Some of these people have horses, Zach, that are 33, 34, 35 years old, and they still ride. And it's like, how did you do that? Well, with proper nutrition. So with people, there are foods that humans eat very well, and then there's everything else that we can just get into because we have a very, very flexible digestive tract. But having a flexible digestive tract doesn't mean it's what's best for it. It just means it's what you can get away with. So, for example, it's hard to look at foods that our great grandparents ate and say, well, shit, grandpa was jacked and tan. I'm just going to do what he did, because the food is not the same in this country. So I have had a couple of friends that went to Europe last year, and I mean, it was uniform, every single one of them. Everybody who goes to Italy for a week or two. They stuff their face every day, and they come back 10 pounds lighter. And
That's where I figured that was going.
it's a true story. And at the same time, dude, if you and I decided that we were going to, okay, cool. You guys ate pasta and lasagna for a week and you lost weight, I can get down with that. I like me some pasta. You're going to be looking mega fat in a month eating that way. So how do we explain that? Well, the wheat is different. The vegetables are different. The processes that are being taken that get that from the ground to a processing center to a grocery store are different. And rather than jump into this, okay, let me stop here because some people think they know where I'm going. Anybody who tells you this idea that, oh, well, that's natural, so it's good for you, is a fucking retard. Okay. Rattlesnake venom, that's pretty natural. You telling me that rattlesnake venom would be good for you if just that's a dumbass idea. There are a ton of foods that our bodies are just not great at dealing with. And if you move away from those, you start to have some pretty crazy results. So what I did was, what do I know I will cook? I'll cook meat every time. I have no problem taking the extra 40 minutes up front to go clean my grill, load the new charcoal, get that fire going, have the meat salted up the right way that I like it, stand in front of that grill for 20 minutes and grill it, and then have a delicious steak, right? I'll eat bacon. I like sausage. I like chicken. I like fish. I like shrimp. I like butter. And that's literally all that I eat now. So I probably eat 2.5 to 3 pounds of meat every day. That's usually split between, in the morning, either some bacon or some ham or some sausage. If I could stand to eat a fucking egg, that's all I would eat, bro. I don't like eggs.
Okay.
Eggs. She's having phenomenal progress. With her, I make her 2 eggs in the morning for a piece of bacon or ham, and then she gets 2 more eggs in the afternoon with her steak. Tremendous progress. If I liked eggs, I would just eat a dozen eggs a day and be fucking done with it. I'm not there, but that to me has left me feeling the very best. So some of the problems that I was having over the last couple of years, pretty chronic heartburn, and that seemed to be on nights that I either didn't have beer or did have beer, did not matter, had this chronic heartburn. I noticed there's a lot of foods that I would tell myself this is healthy. Like I like to make a lot of different Asian dishes that do feature a lot of different vegetables, but I didn't feel that great after having them. And it's funny because you'd say, "Oh man, this is good for you, right?" You know, all these different vegetables and such. Um, and then when I really started to take a look at how blood sugar was interacting with some of the things that are crazy, like, dude, and this might come down to how the rice is being processed here or how it's being grown or maybe where it's coming from. There's a whole bunch of people, bro, that taking rice induces an insulin spike and a blood sugar spike in them, Zach, that they might as well just drank a fucking gallon of Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And no one would think that though. Like, oh, that's not very sugary. No, bro, it totally is fucking sugary though when it gets into our bodies. So when I look at those kind of things, it's really brought me in this lane that I think, so not only can I easily do this today, and I easily did it yesterday, but tomorrow there's nothing that will stop me from being in this lane. You know what I mean? And the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So I bet I eat less than 20 grams of carbohydrates per day. I mean, definitely less than 100 grams of carbs over any 5 or 6 days. A lot of fat. Fat is probably what I try to eat the most of, followed by proteins. Getting enough fat is actually the hard part of the deal overall. And it has been a great change for my grocery bill. I bet my grocery bills probably went from like 250 to 275 for a given week to under 150, because a lot of times when I'm going to the store, I'm just grabbing the exact cuts of steak that I'd want to eat, bag of shrimp or two, maybe a couple fresh fish fillets, a couple sticks of butter. For my wife, maybe she wants some yogurt, cottage cheese, or some milk. But like it has brought the grocery bill to be very, very easy. And I've loved the results. It's been, for a lot of people, I would tell them, if you will take a close look at the benefits, because there's been a lot of university studies on this. There are a lot of doctors that are behind this now. Ketogenic matches how humans have most likely ate for the longest stretch of time. So whatever timeline that somebody wants to debate that humans have been eating, it's a lot easier to say, oh yeah, I know for a fact they were eating meat. Particularly look at the challenges of any level of agriculture to scale. I think a lot of people do not appreciate like how fucking hard it is to actually do good agriculture. If you think about how many places people live in the world, we can only live in certain places at this point because of certain levels of technology. And the part that's not, so our technology level is always going up, but the part that hasn't changed is our biology. So there has not been any major level up in the human digestive tract and our various hormonal systems that makes it to where we can be living on 80% carbohydrates and having 15 insulin spikes per day.
Yeah.
And, where this has really hit me over the last year in particular. Bro, when I stop at a Walmart, okay, and I just see that 90% of the people in there are like hideously morbidly obese, that stings.
Yep.
That makes me sad, but that doesn't impact me the way that it has been this year, because for our construction crews, we are across Dallas Fort Worth. They're doing massive renovations at every high school, middle school, elementary school. They're adding additional classrooms. They're redoing kitchen areas. They're redoing doorways, right? So our crews are in a lot of the schools in the area now. And for me, not having kids, I'm never around kids. I just don't see a lot of young people. So for me to walk into a school and stand there and realize like, bro, goddamn, bro, 85% of the students, I mean, they are fat as fat can be.
Yeah.
Bro, when someone is so fat, their fucking hands and fingers look fat.
Yeah. Or almost like instead of having like like outward, almost like dense in.
It's like,
Like
right.
you got if you get what I'm saying. Like I get what you
I-
mean.
So when I go into schools and it's like, oh my God, like there's not even a sliver of what looks like a healthy population of young people here. Well, where does this go? Because right now, this is the ease. They think that this shit might be hard, but this is the easiest it's going to ever be for them right here, right now.
Yes. Yeah, for
And
sure.
it makes me think like this is the you look at all the ways that people try to scare the shit out of each other. Oh, we're gonna have a nuclear war with China, or the fucking AI is gonna kill everybody, bro. Why am I even worried about if the AI is gonna kill everybody when it looks to me like America's gonna have a 95% diabetic 2 percentage before 2040? I mean,
No, yeah, for sure. It's almost like I mean, if you can't even prepare, whether it be an organization, business, store, people in general, but like if the quality of the food is going down at such a rate, or so much is messed up, or happening at such a young age with a lot of these people, and that's where it's going. Um, yeah, people are worried about all this other stuff, but it's like the reality for most of them is that their daily habits and what they're doing is probably going to have a more negative impact on them than any of the other shit they're worrying about.
I mean that's real. From my house, so when I leave my house and I head east towards the city, there's two little roads that I hit before I jump on the freeway. And during that drive, there's certain people that they've just been living there for years. So I'm seeing these people weekly when I drive by, wave at them. And it's been wild because in the last 15 months, like six of my neighbors have had to have a leg cut off, diabetes related. So you see the guy in his walker, and then a month later, you see him in his wheelchair. And then 6 months later, you realize, like, oh shit, they had to come back for the second foot. So, like, that's both population, right? That's a population problem, but more importantly, it's an individual problem, because the key part is there's not going to be some government fucking rule. You guys got to remember, whenever the government makes a new law or new rule, if you don't get this, please get this. Every time the government makes a law, there is effectively a man now standing behind you, putting a gun to your head at the end of the day and saying, you will do this or I will do this. Right? Every new law eventually can bring you the point where they can come snatch your ass up if you don't want to comply. And if you don't want to comply with getting snatched up, they're going to be pulling guns on your ass. So the question is should the government be regulating diet? I don't know, only if you want to see more people getting shot over foods they will and will not eat. That's up to y'all society. I'm not even in that equation anymore. I've already decided to move myself up away from that. But for the viewers that we get on this show, what would be the takeaway of that, man? The first thing I would want for everybody is when you're, you know, 32 and you decide that, being a little bit overweight is no big deal because my back squat is so strong right now, my deadlift is going so great. That's fine and well. Literally been there, bro. Same, I totally get it. But I would want you to get control of your body composition before you have to. And where that will be for every person is going to be different. Where there's going to come some point though that if you will not take control through systems and having the right routines and making the right decisions, your next in position is going to be that if you don't take this cocktail of medicines, which they all have additional effects, like it's so critical, any prescription drug someone's going to give you is going to have additional things that it's doing to you. You may even require a second, third, fourth additive to deal with these new effects, right? And it becomes the cocktail problem, which is so interesting that um, it's interesting to me how much younger people are now that are on that shit. Like, I have buddies that are in their 40s now, and like, yeah, man, that guy's taking some shit right now for his cholesterol, for his blood pressure. And it's like, man, I just don't understand how it's easier to feel like shit all the time from these pills than it would be to be mildly inconvenienced for the next 150 days as we get you down to where you're supposed to be. Um, and the lies that we build on each other as a community, like short tests. Zach, if you had to bet most of the guys that we would lift with, most of the guys we might see come out for a contest, what is their opinion on BMI index? Body mass index. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it a smart thing? Is it a dumb thing? What do you think the consensus would be?
Generally, man, I would say most people would probably fall into the category of, and this depends because grip's a little bit different, but generally, I mean, I've met a lot of people that would carry a lot of extra muscle mass, and on certain BMI charts be considered obese, even though they're athletic and they're carrying more muscle. If that makes sense, where it's like, oh, hey, like me myself, or where I'm at in my height, I might look at a certain, or maybe I'm going by a specific, I don't know, generic BMI thing, maybe not like where we're talking earlier, where you might have like, oh no, it's actually checking every single thing. But if we just go by like height, weight, oftentimes that generic thing is not really meant for the athlete that's carrying a larger percentage of muscle mass.
That is what
Because,
we tell ourselves, isn't it? But here's the deal.
okay, yeah,
I is a population tool, meaning health experts can apply the index to a group of people and can make predictions that come true.
mhm,
So, one of the big misconceptions is that idea that I'm an athlete. So, when we look at the strain on our pancreas, on our kidneys, on our liver, um, on our various, hormone production, your testosterone production, your estrogen project, we see that even though a group of people that are, say, over 30, if you're over 30 on the index, it says you're obese. That's what the doctors have been in agreement on this forever. The thing is in the populations where their index is over 30, but they're still muscular, they're still dragging the same health problems
okay,
that you expect to see. So, I mean, for me, I can think of, if I had to think of probably the three strongest men I personally know, like just that they are elephants among the oxes, bro. They're having all the same problems that being just fat would be. So yeah,
okay.
like
No, I can definitely see that too. Yeah.
yeah, bro, you can military press 450, and that is unbelievable. And you can back squat 900 for fucking reps, unbelievable. And you need a CPAP machine to sleep. You potentially could fucking die one night if you don't have it. Your blood pressure is just absolutely out of control. Like, to me, we've hit this point that we have people that they get red faced tying their shoes, and we're allowing them in the conversation to be like, yeah, but I'm an athlete. Yeah, but you're fat, you're obese. And the
Yeah, and I guess for some of that too, especially talking about like lifting and strength, uh, I guess when I'm using athlete, I'm in my brain, I'm trying to kind of approach it more from like, okay, this generic chart might label these people obese, but yeah, for in the case of some lifters that maybe are strong or there's still like body composition or there's still that ability of like I got to think of how to put this. You know, uh, when I think athlete, I think movement. A lot of movement. So when I say athlete, I don't mean like the power lifter that is lifting in multiply that is out of breath
oh yeah,
just walking to the 1,000 pound squat. I'm kind of talking about these athletes where it's like, okay, hey, like that guy's like a sprinter. You know what I mean? Like he's a sprinter that's carrying some muscle. So maybe on some weird chart he comes off as like you're a little heavy for your size or something. But yeah, to go to that deeper extreme where it's like, okay, these people are not uh their systems or blood, and also it's not getting pumped and pushed through. The body's not working like a well-oiled machine, even though they're doing athletic stuff. So
that's right.
yeah, hopefully that makes sense where I'm kind of coming from the chart or
If
some of that
if
other stuff.
we
But
if we take two systems that stand very close to each other and we simply make them intersect, so we could look at someone's BMI. And for every man who just, if he's been in a gym one time in his life, he's telling himself that being over 30 BMI somehow would not apply to him, even though all the health predictions are now directly applying
mhm.
those body composition. So if we look at established numbers, the only variance that really is present is at the very bottom and the very top of a given range. So, for example, some doctors will tell you that most men should be somewhere between 12 and 18% body fat. Okay. Some doctors might move that numbers where they say, okay, well, look, it's 15 to 20. Every doctor who has any level of education is going to tell you, though, you get over that 25% body fat marker and you're going to have problems. Okay. And when you factor in BMI, the thing is, how many guys are really over 30 BMI and they're also under being too fat on the body fat scale? It's an incredibly tiny percentage.
It almost becomes outliers, and that's why I didn't want I didn't want it to be misconstrued
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh yeah, anyone's just an athlete, so that chart's wrong. No, yeah, hopefully that's coming across pretty clear. But yeah, I'm not trying to disprove or prove anything by using the outliers. Yeah, there's some people that are going to be legitimate athletes that maybe that doesn't apply to them, but yeah, the general
Hey,
across the board type thing, it's going to be a thing. Yeah.
for me, I did the whole cope. I was coping so hard. If we go 2010 to 2013, and I can remember down to the fucking hour when I changed my mind on this. Okay.
Hmm.
So for me, if I look at contest results, 2010, 2011, 2012, I really should have just fixed some shit and took my body weight down to like 205. Not because it was a weight class change for me. I still would have been lifting 100 kilo, but that just would have been better, or it just would have been better.
Hmm.
And the dividing line for me was in 2013, standing at the Sorinex booth. So for 3 days, I was talking to everybody I could at the expo center in between our Mighty Mid events. And the number of people who were astonished at lifts that I did, they really were astonished at because I just didn't match up what they think I would look like. They thought I'd look leaner. They thought my arms would be bigger. They thought my waist would be smaller. And I remember thinking, well, goddamn, man, maybe they're just right. Like maybe you just need to fix that shit. You know what I mean? Hey, just
Hmm.
that. And when I did that though, that put me in when I was really walking around like 185 to 195. If I looked at all my numbers, every marker that you would say empirically applies to population data, I was well in the best area for that. And when I look at what that period of time was, that was moving the best, feeling the best, sleeping the best, performing the best. When I look at time periods going past that, so 2018 was very much in weight, really where I was supposed to be. 2019 was not bad. 2020 was starting to get too heavy again, though. And then 21 and 22, good lifts in the gym, but easily 20 pounds too heavy. Just period, plain end the story. And the problem with being 20 pounds overweight is 20 becomes 30 so slowly, assuredly, though. You don't feel it coming on, and going 30 to 40 doesn't really occur to you that it's a big deal because you're telling yourself, man, I'm an athlete, though. And then one day you wake up and you're like, holy shit, I'm fucking 245 at 6'2", which I don't use fucking steroids. So I'm going to tell you something. There ain't no guys that are 240 at 6'2" that aren't using roids that are in good shape. It's just not like that. You know what I mean? One of the number one up and coming strongmen. This guy's doing absolutely unbelievable. His name is DJ Daggett. DJ
Okay,
lives
yeah. He's from down your area or right there.
this
Yeah.
mother.
He used to play football, right?
He played football, and right now this guy seems to have no limits, bro. Weighs 231 pounds. He can
Yeah, he
pick.
competes at 105. I've seen
Yeah.
him. I think he just took third in like a pretty big competition, or he podiumed at something not too long ago.
Yes.
But it was pretty good. So I have loosely followed along, but I think it's because he lifted at your place one time.
Yeah. Been
And
on
then
a
I was
couple
like, oh man, man, I'll follow that guy. So I would always see some of the strongman competitions and stuff. So even though I have no idea who he is personally, I still knew of him from you and that connection and kind of looking. I'll tune in and kind of check out and see
Hey,
what's
Zach,
happening.
first time he ever did double overhand axle, like in a judged meet, was on my axle of my plates, 480 perfect lockout.
I was
Weighing,
gonna say probably about 480.
yeah.
Yeah, because that was gonna be my guess probably. Because yeah, he's super strong. Yeah, guy's a monster.
I look at that guy and I think, what's the craziest thing is this guy is still at a point though where he would tell you, I bet I could drop 5 pounds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, is just so there's these numbers that people have gotten accustomed to, and people don't realize how much fat is on a person once they're going past their numbers. So man, I say all that for me because that was, instead of playing the mind games of telling myself how things are going to always be all right, I said, okay, what if we just look at getting back inside of those ranges? And it's made a huge difference. And that would be something that I'd want more of the guys in our community to do. And if I keep it really hyper specific for those of us that are love doing grip training, you love to compete, you love to do feats of strength. And the thing about that is, if you're a guy who loves feats of strength, you got some competition in you. Like, you've got a competitive spirit, which we're the same, bro. Here's the truth. The lighter you are doing any given feat, the more impressive it is compared to the next guy down the road. Okay. Like, I'm telling you now, Zach, in my mind, anybody picks up an inch dumbbell, I'm impressed because it's fucking hard. But let's face it, if you tell me that you got a guy who's 180 pounds and he picked up an inch, and I'm showing you a guy that weighs 280 who picked up an inch, the two feats are not the same, but they're, of course, exactly the same. If
Yeah.
the 280 guy brought himself down to 210, you would notice that every lift he did from that moment, you'd be like, damn, man, that's fucking strong. For most people, they would just be doing a lot better if they would have less total weight on their size. And for the tiniest group of people that are powerlifting, the questions, I just want you to really, wherever you make your bed is where you're going to sleep. If you think that it is beneficial for your health to not end up being a 45-year-old diabetic, to carry an extra 90 pounds because of a lifting sport, I would really just want you to take a look at where things are going. How much are you actually competing? Like, I've had guys tell me, well, no, I need to keep this weight because I'm powerlifting, and they have not competed this season or last season. So, like, are we like pretending right now, or are we being serious?
Adam, dude, when I first started to, because I had some MMA fights prior to the military, and then was in the military for 4 years, got out, and I still, instructed and had some fight type stuff and did some, competitive things while in the service. But moving past that, when it started to reach a point where I was shifting more into coaching, and I realized, like, hey, yeah, I'm not pursuing this 100% all in, like do or die as a career. Doesn't necessarily make sense to take, you know, the full, brain damage, whatever else that comes with this if you're not all in, blah, blah, blah. Well, I would often find myself kind of playing the same game, but a little bit in reverse, where I was like afraid of getting too heavy because of this weight class. But then it got to the point where I'm like, dude, you haven't fought in 5 years. You haven't fought in 6 years. Why are you basing every single thing around a sport that you're not even doing?
Yes.
So it's a little bit different, but yeah, I would find myself almost like it was just like ingrained in me that I was like, man, I'm getting too heavy because of this. But it was all based off of a weight class that was, basically a former competitive sport that I was no longer in. And it was almost like I don't want to say an identity type thing, but you'd done it for so long and that's kind of what you know. It was hard to kind of break free from it. And I think a lot of these people, they get big, they get strong. That's kind of where they placed a lot of their worth or whatever. And it's hard for them to kind of tell themselves like, oh, hey, if my deadlift drops under 800, I'm nobody. Or, oh, if I weigh less than 230, I'm not big enough. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's kind of the reverse effect there, where one, I'm trying to cut lower, but not wanting to get bigger afterwards, even though that was probably holding my strength back when I got back into lifting heavier. I'm like, it's not gonna kill me to like not starve myself out here and move some weight. So I was kind of fighting it that way. And then I think some of these other people, yeah, they're big, strong. They don't want to see potentially some of those numbers drop or feel like they're less than they used to be. But in general, they could probably lift the same numbers and just be healthier.
Well,
I want to say a middle ground,
we
but yeah,
we know a couple guys that I think are wonderful. So to me, when I think about um, relevant grip sport athletes from say the last 15, 20 years. Okay, so Eric is one of the best examples. So
yes,
we've seen Eric compete as high as 110, and I'm thinking as low as 90 kilos.
for sure. Yeah, he last year's Arnold, he cut to 90.
And it's
Yeah.
fun. You see Eric at 90 kilos, and I mean, bro, he looks ready for the next fucking Marvel movie to be part of the cast, right? And then if you look at Eric's career lifts, even when he admits that he's like, oh, bro, I fucking dehydrated myself to get down to this weight. Man, his competition numbers, though, it's been steady Eddie the whole time. Devin Lee Brown,
Another great example. Yeah.
dude, Devin stays under for competition. If I'm remembering score sheets over the years, most of the time he's competing like right at or right under 200, and his
Yeah.
number,
Yeah.
right, and
He,
he's competitive at 100 and 110.
mhm.
And I mean, dude, I'm sure both of those guys are examples where if they porked up and added 40 pounds, like, yeah, their deadlift would go up and their back squat would go up. But it's interesting how many other things they might feel totally shitty on. So you look at that and it's like, man, there's some great examples of guys that are incredibly high level performers that have done fantastically getting leaner. Um,
Devin Lee even had cut some weight for an arm wrestling competition at one point, and he's been at 90 kilos since. So right, that 198 or just sub 200. Um, but man, he actually was under 80 kilos for a period of time,
I tell
and and
I
smashing it. So yeah,
I mean, dude, if that guy likes arm wrestle, like if he really likes to do it, that dude under 80 kilos would be a fucking monster.
well, and I
Like,
think he won something
so,
in Florida. I don't know if it was like the state. I'd have to go. I don't keep up with all of it, but I've seen him on several arm wrestling podiums while his weight was down. So he was definitely competing and doing something. I think it was down in Florida. But yeah, I can only follow so many sports and so many people at one time. So
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's a great example though, is that you think, okay, well, how much strength did he lose? Well, apparently not enough to fuck up his chances of finishing on a podium. But really, the thing is, if we
Mhm.
set all that aside, it, you know, sports are great. Sports gives us objectives. It gives us a sense of accomplishment. It gives us senses of community. But um, staying in shape to be able to play when you're able to, like, I would hate to hear that somebody is basically burned out and done within just a couple of years because of health problems. And if there's a perfect intersection, it's let's get it where your activities are getting you healthier. And with really the big thing I'd want for people is I'd want the ability to bounce back. I would want them psychologically flexible enough to say, I'm prepared to give up this kind of shape or condition in order to pursue these kinds of things, but I do know how to get it back. And for me, in a lot of ways, so I've done it a couple of times, and I just felt that it was time to kind of play that game again. Is okay, so I know what it's like to gain weight. I know what it's like to cut weight. I know what it's like to gain weight in a way that the results are very, very easily held on to. And I know how it's to cut weight and do the same kind of thing. And I think that is something that a lot of people would just like, if you were the guy in your family system who actually understood how someone could make those changes to their body, you'd be incredibly valuable to the people around you because most people don't. Hey, I'll tell you what, on a side note for that, Zach. So one of the interesting things over the last year, I've been looking at the information that we see gets presented for hypertrophy training. You know,
Hmm.
how does someone actually gain muscle? And the amazing thing is where American society has become so absolutely fucking degenerate. Dude, you can't show me anybody anymore that is an actual natural bodybuilder or call
Right.
natural physical culturist that has the combination where they do really like, wow, this person has truly developed their body and they're impressively physical. Okay. I know a ton of guys that are amazingly physically impressive for their capability, but they have not maximized their own development. And then I know guys that have done a pretty okay job maximizing their development, but you can tell that they haven't figured it out yet. Like the number of
Hmm.
people that I feel like have figured it out. And it made me sad when I looked at it because I thought about this. I said, okay, I'd like to figure more out myself, like really figure it out. Not know the book answer, but have the actual result.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through my phone and I'm thinking, okay, who's the three most muscular guys that I know? Like who are the guys that really, because I know how to get strong. I know that. How
Well, I
do
was
you
gonna say, Adam, and this is something for anyone listening in. You've also had a lifetime of, from military to gym ownership, coaching, competing. This isn't like you've been like hidden away on a farm and you haven't been around athletes. You know strong people.
I know
Like, you
strong
know what I mean?
and I'll tell you, here was the disappointment. Dude, I couldn't find anybody in my phone that I was going to call and ask that question to. And the reason is I think of the first three most jack motherfuckers I know all use steroids. Okay. So if I told you, Zach, I'm going to make $1 million this year, and you're like, cool, who you get advice from? And I said, oh, well, dude, I know this guy and his daddy left him 5 million and he turned the 5 million into 8 million. Well, he probably knows some shit, but I mean, let's face it, get getting over the hump of not having money, like starting with the money changes what you do with it. And if you're someone who you couldn't figure it out until you added substances to give you the advantage, you might have really had great success on all the shit. But the problem is if I call you and ask you that, the only thing you're going to tell me is how I need to get on steroids. All right. And we've talked about this on the show
I,
before. So it
yes,
hurts.
we have. That's what I was gonna say. I thought some of the substance users were gonna be safe this time around, but
Well,
possibly not. We might have to dive
yeah,
in.
I mean, the big thing that I've said, and I'll say it before, dude, the guys I know that are taking gear are struggling the most with mental health concerns. And they tell that I didn't fucking read their mind. They told me what was on their mind. Man, I feel anxious. I feel depressed. I feel angry all the time. I have a short fuse. I can't stay focused. Like these are not things that a man navigating the modern world with all its complexity needs added in their bucket. And the crazier thing is it's only one of two answers. Either uh, natural bodybuilding, if we want to call it that, or physical culture, the ability to build someone up through correct training, that's either totally bullshit and we're going to play the game where no matter how far back we go in time, there's somebody standing up saying, no, they use steroids, or it's not. And the crazy thing is I don't know anybody that is very successful where they're achieving a great physique and they can show me like, yeah, man, I've been drug free my whole life. And that shit is disappointing to me to the absolute max. Because if we look at the long term of it, okay, um, if I showed you a photograph of Dorian Yates right now, and I told you that motherfucker used to be the most jacked, impressive bodybuilder in the world, you'd be like, can't be the same guy. Um, and that is the trend for all of it is that there was a time, if we go back far enough, that people were achieving results that they were in their 60s and 70s and had great endurance. They had great blood work. They had uh, very, very healthy bodies, which is what you'd think you'd get of a lifetime of being dedicated to it. And that would be closer to the goal that I want. So it's not about what's the best way to have a V taper frame for 6 pack as much as Like, motherfucker, is there anybody in 2026 that I could even call if I had a question on how are they balancing their recovery days, their meal timing? Because the only natural bodybuilders that I'm sure are natural are all like 5'3" guys. And that's cool because they got to have their own thing anyway, right? Um, it's pretty fucking crazy to me. But that is something that I'm challenging myself to try to figure out is just, okay, what would be the minimal amount of work? Or I guess there's two ways you can say it. What is the most amount of work I can get away with and recover? Or then again, what is the minimal amount of work you need to actually produce measurable gains over time? And then that's taken into account that I'm not a professional lifter, I'm a professional worker. And work will always put all the other things in the backseat, particularly with things we have coming up this year. And the way that the internet is taking this and spinning it out now, like I lift at a tiny ass little gym in my small ass little town out here, bro. We're like 30 minutes outside the city. And we have 16, 17, 18-year-olds that are spending $2,000 a month doing drugs. Like the gym owner's got a fucking sign in the bathroom that says, "Hey, please don't leave your needles in here because it's a health hazard." And they're fucking joking and laughing and shit because they're in there, giving themselves a poke in the ass right before they start their workout session. Dude, that to me is like a 1,000,000% fail, because that's how you're starting. Like, what? That's fucking crazy to me.
Another thing, Adam, real quick on that. And like I said, I don't want to just make this seem like it's a PED rant, but it does kill me. And I'll bring up two examples really quick. One of these is more so just personal experience because, like you, I mean, I've competed in everything from baseball, basketball, football, fighting, boxing, grappling. I've been around grip sport. I've done a lot of different stuff. I've trained a lot of different ways. You know what I mean? I've gone from, running 50 miles a week to lifting whatever, inch dumbbells and just stupid feats of strength, whatever, right? So I have a decent range. It's not like I was just a power lifter and that's all I have, or I'm a whatever. So I've done a lot of different stuff. I understand, at least from my perspective, and I know it's not like I can speak for every single person. We're all different. Someone's going to recover different. Someone can get away with a little bit more. Someone's stronger here and weaker there. I get that. But at the end of the day, I have put myself in some extremely challenging, tough situations, environments, been around all the same people that have done that at my level or even above. And that's the only people I've ever really associated with a lot of this stuff. So I kind of know what it looks like when somebody's pushing the top end of something or they're sort of an extremist with whatever they're doing. And with that knowledge or experience, for decades, one of the things that kills me is, and like I said, I don't want to get too specific or get too crazy and start a war, but like I see people nowadays that, me with a decent grip build up at this point, I have done certain things or tried some endurance type challenges with grip. And as recently as yesterday, I did something yesterday on a whim, was like, let me just see and tried it, whatever, right? And my left wrist, my thumb, all the way down this whole thing, like, I mean, feels terrible. I mean, it just okay, pushed a little bit farther than I normally would have in just a regular training session because it was just max reps. This time limit, just go. So I just know that with the thousands of reps I've done in the last couple of years on inch dumbbells, I mean, I'm acclimated to lifting inch dumbbells. I'm acclimated to thick bar. It's one of the lifts I would probably say I'm a little bit better at or easily conditioned for. So if I do something in that field and this is how I feel the day after or a couple days after, it's pretty good feedback that I think applies to the situation. So when I see other people that maybe are doing stuff that just does not make sense, I see somebody that trains the same 3 to 4 things in a week and they're still adding 10, 20 pounds every time they touch it in their 30s, in their 40s. It's like, I'm sorry, like I'm not that guy that just says, if you're stronger than Zach Mullins, you got to be on steroids. No, I know that's not true. So it's not the cop out of the natural lifter that says, oh, well, you're stronger than me, got to be steroids. I'm not one of those people that's doing that cop out. But when I see you do stuff that's like, oh, well, this day he hit an inch dumbbell PR, and Tuesday he hit a gripper PR, and Wednesday it's a pinch PR, and Thursday it's back to bells and it's a PR. I'm like, that's not how it works. Like at some point, I just feel like you can't just be naturally recovering that much. It's not this like never-ending cycle. And some of the stuff I see in the sport is beyond just, oh, it's beginner gains. It's beyond beginner gains at that point. Like if we start talking just ridiculous numbers that people can't even fathom, and I'm not saying that it's not impressive. I'm not saying that it's not like otherworldly strong. It's just don't beat me over the head with the you're natty too type thing, because it's like I know very good natural lifters, yourself. I mean, Jason Dingy, I can name a ton of very strong natural lifters. And a lot of us behind the scenes just look at each other like, what the hell? How's that possible? It doesn't even it's not even like a question. It's almost like you just know something's off with certain things you see. And that's just from the steroid type. I don't want to say you're trying to like vet out who's using or not using, but yeah, in that sense, you almost just start seeing something that's such an outlier that's so crazy that you're like, man, that if that person is natural, you're the only one that any of us have ever known ever to do that. Could be possible, but if we all go by our instinct and what we really know and our decades of training experience, I wouldn't bet my life on it that you're clean. Like if we drug tested whoever, XYZ person this second, and you said, Zach, your life is on the line. Like if they test positive for anything or have elevated levels of this, we're going to shoot you in the head. And if you're wrong, and I'm like, I'm not going to be like, hell yeah, he's natty. He told me. Like, nah, dude, I'm probably going to lean towards, yeah, he says he's natty, but shit, none of my other red flags and alarms of a lifetime of training really would line up with that. So like I said, I don't want to be that person that uses the cop out, oh, they're stronger than me, he's on steroids. Because I don't have that type of mentality where it's like I'm not that concerned or I'm not worried about, I don't know, coming up with a reason why I'm not as good as somebody. If somebody beats me, I'll tip my hat every time. There's no excuses, and that's just how it is. I've had to do it with several people. There's hundreds of lifters that have beat me in certain things, from being in the sport the last 4 or 5 years that I know they're natural and they're just better. That's fine. So I don't have a problem admitting any of that. So like I said, it's not this cop out. It's not this blame game of, whatever. It's just when you see somebody train like 4 times harder than anyone else can fathom and always have amazing results with no, I don't know, speed bumps or anything, you're just like, man. And it's not like they're 21, 22 years old. I'm talking about middle-aged people just still hitting it. Kind of like you mentioning the muscle mass or how lean someone in shape at this weight. You know what I mean? You almost can kind of connect the dots. But yeah, does some of that make sense what I'm saying, Adam? There.
For me, bro, the thing is I see all the hiccups. I keep up on things. So for me, the part that I pay attention to is how many guys was I competing against 15 years ago that seemed to be unstoppable, that have basically destroyed both bicep tendons, a pec tendon, and Achilles tendon in a period of time that it's like, man, those are all like horrific injuries. And it's interesting that I've never had anything like that, even though I'm 5 times stupider than you for dumb shit that I do. But I remember, I forget, the first time I ever posted a video where I had picked up an inch and grabbed a pull-up bar and just hung on the bar holding, I had probably 8 guys message me within 40 minutes on Facebook that day. And they said, bro, don't do it. Don't do it. Did you know that this guy tore his bicep at the Sorinex event last year doing that? Did you know that this guy, and they're going through all these things. And it's like, when I started paying attention to that, I realized like, okay, so these connective tissue injuries that we see, there's like certain patterns that are emerging to me. Yeah. For me, for some of the individuals that I've known that I can keep track on over all the years, the emotional, the psychological stresses, the problems they've had, those kinds of things that I see, I know when some of the guys I know that are using gear are back on their cycle because of how goddamn unreasonable they get super fast. I'll never forget. I'll never forget one of the funniest things. So, a buddy of mine, he was, you know, he got on some shit, bro, and it didn't come as fast as he thought it would, and that made him so mad because everyone had told him for so long that your results would finally take off if we get you doing all these different things. So he fucking calls me. It's a Thursday, and he just doesn't sound good. Like he's all fucking emotionally amped up. So what the fuck's going on? He goes, man, this shit's got me so fucking riled up right now. I'm playing Red Dead, and I fucking saved one of the missions. You like save a little bunny or some shit. He's like, it made me fucking cry. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Just emotions out of whack.
that's it. Is I've been at gyms and seen motherfuckers get done bench pressing and just start crying like a fucking woman, and it's like, bro, do you really like? I'm gonna tell you, nobody give like. I wish everybody could finally buy into a true statement. But we've all been told this. Nobody gives a fuck what you lift. Do you really think any? Because, and I think I say this every couple shows. I try to make a point of reiterating this. Whoever is out there grinding for their next PR right now, who listens to this, first of all, I hope you get it. I really do. I hope you achieve it. I just need you to realize almost nothing is going to be different once that happens. Okay. Like, if it's not like your family's going to like you more, they like you as much as they could like you. It's not like you're going to get it promoted at work, or some opportunity that was previously barred is going to finally open up. Nobody gives a shit. Okay. Because life is far hard enough. It is extremely important that a lifter is progressing, but it's also not anything that anyone else gives a shit about. So, like, to me, the idea of burn the candle at both ends. Life is short, bro. Life is fucking long if you're sick. I promise you that. Okay, like, if you end up some guy who ends up, what was the name? What was the name of that big motherfucker? He was a social influencer. He passed away a couple of years ago. Black Tom Cruise. Do you remember this guy? He was a bodybuilder.
Uh,
He used,
I can't think of it right now. Yeah.
they got those crews on social media, and they were so proud of themselves driving fast cars and having lots of videos on their lots of views on their videos, them all doing shoulders and lats yet again. That guy was like 43 or 44, and he died, man. And you look at that and it's like fuck, I'm 43. How would that be if I
Yeah.
was this year from a heart condition when I would have none of that shit in my family history, unless I did, like, that's a crazy thing. Um, I think there's enough things that could happen to someone that's already taking excellent care of themselves, that if you're going to add that shit in, um, there's just a lot of questions that I would ask. Like, one of them would be, especially for the guys that are married, bro, if you tank your health over 5 years because of insecurities driving you crazy, and you accrue $500,000 in medical bills, and you cripple your family future because you wanted a half inch more on your arm, is that going to be worth it at the time? I don't, for me, it wouldn't be, but some of the people are making these crazy calls. So that, when I bring that around the beginning, that's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out, Zach, is I know how to bring my body to peak strength condition for a given activity. Okay. Um, if and all, I'm like the Batman, bro. I just need the lead time. Just tell me what I'm gonna have to eventually do, and I promise you I'll fucking get across that line with some time. But where I've never had just amazing success at all is purely from the build-up phase. So for me, the next couple of years, and this is not for an ambition for like a bodybuilding competition, as much as I would really like to figure it out, that if somebody said, I want to be as muscular as my body would allow me to be in its current chemistry, that I could say, yeah, man, you know what? I have done that because I know what it's like to get fat, and I know what it's like to get lean. And I'm not bad at either of those. And I know what it's like to be able to get a max thing, and I know what it's like to build for endurance. So now I want to figure out, what if somebody really just did want to say, hey, over the next couple of years, I'd like to be able to add 15 pounds. How do I do that? There has to be, it's like for anything. If whenever there's multiple options, there's got to be one option that's better than the other ones. And I understand where we've got our dials, right? Recovery is probably the most important part. And we live in a world where most of the things we have to do weekly are pretty inconvenient for that. So how do you do it the right way? And that's shit that I'm trying to figure out. It's funny, for the amount that I have added back up over the last couple months. Currently, what is working the very, very best is I do one set. That's it. One fucking set. If I'm shoulder pressing, it's one set of shoulder presses. If I'm bench pressing, it's one set of bench presses. I think that there's a tremendous value in volume, but what I'm currently seeing is the ability to make measurable results that are showing up using the assessment that I'm seeing. I'm having fantastic results that way. Now, is there a point that shifts? Probably, but I think that it be adding more rest days rather than needing to add more sets. And I look at that really from the point of how many other things in our psychology, physiology are driven by dose, like the intensity of exposure compared to the total amount. It makes me think that there's probably some value, like there's a lot more that I've been digging and looking at, guys, like what was Arthur Jones actually doing with people in the 60s and 70s, and not the famous bodybuilders that got a lot of publicity. I'm curious about the normal people. And I've been looking at things like that. Some of the work that guys like Pete Sisko did in the 90s, and he had studies that he published and they've been replicated. So I'm super curious on things like that. That has been pretty motivating to try to figure out, just because for me it represents, I don't have the kind of body that very easily wants to add a ton of muscle tissue. So figuring out, okay, man, that'd be kind of fun to figure out. On competition side, something I know you'd be curious to hear. So I've probably had more guys reach out in the last 90 days that want to do something this summer here. And I've been working with a couple of gyms in DFW over the years, where I'll usually come on like maybe ref events that they're having. So I refed a strongman competition that was in South Fort Worth a couple months ago. And we actually did a grip event that day. They had a Rolling Thunder as one of their 5 events, and everybody loved it. So I'll keep you up to date on this, and we'll do a broadcast on the show. But we're gonna have a couple of things here this year, and we've got some guys in DFW that are doing a great job. So Dylan has been hosting like grip seminars, introducing people, and he's been doing more and more events. So I think we're going to have a couple chances that it'll be justifiable for me to tell you, like, hey man, jump in your truck, drive south until it's warm again.
No, man, it's good to hear. And I was kind of going to eventually get to that. So yeah, no, I think that'll be awesome. We'll definitely have to stay in touch for that. The one thing I was going to get at with the recovery thing that you just mentioned was talking about the recovery. That's where I was going with the my tangent, where I kind of strayed off there, is I was trying to get to the point where it's like, we're seeing somebody just set like 4 or 5 PRs on the same grip disciplines within a week. And it's like, that makes no sense to anything that we know about recovery or what we experience when we train. So that's why I'm not accusing anybody of anything if they're stronger than me, or I'm insecure because they're stronger, so I'm thinking they have to be on. No, that's not it. It's like, I just know how long it takes a person to recover, even when they're in like peak shape, prime shape, or I've had a big sample size of the best athletes tell me certain things. So when I see somebody that's just completely like blowing beyond that doesn't even make sense to any of them. Well, that's why the accusation or the question comes about. It's not because, oh, you're doing so good that everybody's jealous of you. Like,
Hey,
no,
look,
it's
that you have fun with. Um, so I was having this conversation with Mike Nelson. Mike has been Mike's been staying on it. He fucking travels a lot. That's what makes it so hard. Is this guy is very rarely at his house where his actual dumbbells are at. But a couple of years ago, he said, "Man, I really want to. I want to lift this 175." And I said, because you own a 175, 100, and a 135, I know we can get you there. It's just going to be like painfully slower than what you think it is. Okay, so some of the things I've had him doing has been working quite well. It works best when he's at home. But the thing I'm going to say for the show for anyone who watches, okay, so buddy, you remember when I tore my finger up a couple of
oh,
years
yep.
ago? Okay, so if you go look on Instagram around that period of time, you're going to see what I did right afterwards. Because one of the things that I did right afterwards that was really fun for me, and this at the time that I was doing this was more for my I was kind of butthurt because if you look at what happened the day I tore this, so double 200 lift plus the weight, I'm thinking, this summer strength program has really brought me to an excellent taper. Um, that was preparing to see what the Arnold was going to look like that March. Like everything felt like it was coming together so strongly.
I
And
think you were like, this is going off memory, Adam, but I want to say you were right around like a 460, 470 axle as well, and had some goals a little bit above that. I remember that time we talked a little bit.
I
Yeah.
was hitting over 445 on the axle for one or two singles almost daily. Like
Mhm.
my conditioning was such that I could leave basically 393 on my bar all the time. I just left 4 plates on it all the time. I would come out to the barn. I would do like a set of chin ups. I would do some hip mobility shit and go right into start picking singles on that, 3, 4 singles, then go up in weight. So it was really low volume, but it was easily working. So after I tear my finger up, within a couple of days, I got going on this. So I was doing one set on my inch left hand and just, how many times can I pick it up consecutively? In the minute that it's getting hard, just quit fucking with it and go on and do something else for the rest of the day. So if you look on there, Zach, within 5 or 6 weeks, I was getting 14 to 15 consecutive reps. And I think the biggest test I did was 16 lifts left-handed in a row. How many guys have ever picked up an inch left-handed that many consecutive times? And if you look at, well, how did I do it, dude? Just literally one set per day. And
Yeah.
I would say for a lot of people, if they wanted to make the crazy grip results, so grip training is so much a function of our central nervous system and recruitment. It is possible to make a lot of strength gains week to week, but the downside to it and this is where I think people get really frustrated as they go through it. When you're making a lot of progress that's basically nervous system centered, it is like easy come, easy go. Like like, let me ask you a question, Zach. When do you train grippers at all right now? At all? Not really,
Yeah,
right?
I'm on this extensive program where after I get done doing about 50 to 60 dumbbell lifts, I might pull one off the wall randomly and try to close it. And if it goes good, that's awesome. I trained grippers, and if I don't, I throw it across the room and I
So
don't touch them for another month.
here's the observation. So and I've had this chat with a couple of guys, and it seems to be super consistent. Okay, if you are a guy who's been doing solid grip training the last couple of years, I'm gonna guarantee that you can pick up like a number two any day of the week and probably table no set it, like absolutely effortless,
Mhm.
right? And that sounds stupid, like a nothing burger to us, but I'll tell you now, if you take a number two Captain of Crush out into the world, okay, not to fucking gyms, just take it into the world, take it to Home Depot and watch how many people just cannot do this thing. And I'm not talking about this idea that, oh, well, they don't know the technique. No, just table, no, set it. Like everybody gets that. Okay. So, Eric and I were talking one day, and I think that for the majority of probably like 90 to 110 kilo lifters, if you've closed a number 3 in the past, I bet you can close a 2.5 any day of the week. But I also bet if you haven't been doing grippers, 3s are still like they can fucking suck. Especially the variants of them, right? Ease
Oh
in
yeah.
3 might be in range for you, but the interesting thing is we can move somebody from a 2.5 to a 3 in days, but it goes away. So talking to Tanner and talking to guys like Steven Anderson, so these are guys that close it when they're in shape for it, they're closing at a number 4 level. It seems like when they fall back, they're still within 40 or 50 pounds of it. And that makes sense when you think about it. So if a guy's getting like a 191.35 or maybe a 197 easy number 4, they're still getting those 165, 170 pound 3.5s. And that to me is there's something to understanding this when you think about layering out your program year after year. And it's the difference of the work done week by week is developing the foundational bone strength, tendon strength, ligament strength. Most of grip training, we're not talking muscle all that much. From the elbow down, it's not particularly muscular part of your body as much as connective tissue. And then what separates the best from the rest of us, I think, is how quickly they are able to get those neurological improvements. And there's probably a lot of factors to that. How quickly their body can elevate to a very stimulated state, how quickly they can deregulate down and relax. There's just all these things to it. And for a lot of people, I would really want to encourage them that instead of just replicating what you've seen other people do, is you need to tinker enough to start figuring out, like, where are you on that spectrum? Like, are you someone who has pretty tough connective tissue, or do you not have that? Because if you don't have that, the way we could build your program over the next 12 months would be a different starting and ending point than maybe if I'm talking to somebody and this guy's been a fucking concrete maker for 20 years. Like, yeah, that guy's going to have pretty good tendons. The ability to make quick progress on lifts is one of the reasons that will get people that they will come into this sport, because it's just not the same for like if a guy comes from a background where you're used to maybe lifting really heavy and the amount of weight jumps you get are just not that great over the year, this can be an exciting thing. But where we can keep those people is when we can help them understand how you weave back and forth. Like, I'll make you a bet, bro. If I walk out to that barn right now, so I've not touched my inch even 4 times in the last 60 days. And anytime I walk out there, I can thumbless lift it. I can throw it hand to hand and catch it. Overhand lift the 200, no problem. And then get a really nice thumbless pop off the floor on the 200. If I focus on the lift for even 5 weeks, like, the rep count goes up to a stupid amount. It's not linear. Like, oh shit, all of a sudden you could do 2 thumbless lifts that day to where you could do 10 sets if you wanted to. And then as soon as you stop, it kind of falls off again. And there's something to that I feel like people would get better results throughout the year if they'd understand how little training they specifically need to be ready to compete versus maybe what they're telling themselves and what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Adam, yeah, no, dude, I'm only laughing right now a little bit is because the thing that popped in my head with this example, or this subject was, and I am not ragging on anybody. I am not, like I said, stirring anything up. It's just I always find it funny as we talk about approaching a competition And everybody knows of King Kong generally in this sport. It's a big deal, right?
Should
Um,
be.
so when the events get announced for it, I love, and I'm not really on social media right now, at all. I don't really have anything up on social media. I've opted out slash was also I don't know what the word would be, but yeah, not a good time for me to be on there. I'm got annoyed with some stuff and just whatever, so I'm stepped away. And but I would also see, oh, the King Kong stuff got announced. Everybody starts breaking those things out 10 months ahead of time, and I'm like, nothing you do today even matters. So just talking about, approaching a competition, or, hey, when do I start to sort of tap into that to get that increase, or sort of, I guess we'll say, peak for a competition. But I always find it funny when I see people that, I got to do my King Kong training because this stuff got announced, and then like 10 months out they're doing that, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch you lift it for this week, and then I'm going to watch it disappear for 6 months. And then when you get about 2 months out, you'll probably start, knocking the dust off of it and training again. But I always find that funny that people will just be training for something so ridiculously far out, to where I'm like, you're not really building the base. You're not doing anything. I mean, you might have like, hey, where's my starting point roughly going to be when we start the real training? But you're not, there's not really anything that beneficial that's happening that day towards a 10-month out competition, to where you're going to, oh, I'm just going to sustain this. It's like, what do you think? You're going to lift 80 pounds on that one handle today, and then 10 months it's going to be 140? We know that doesn't work like that on some grip lifts. Some grip lifts, we come into this sport and damn near day one, what you lift. After years of training, you're not gaining that much on specific lift. And that varies among different lifts. Like maybe your axle goes up because your body strength, so there's a bigger, overall movement. But things like finish ball, no one's going to start training on the finish ball today and then in 2 years have some like 70-pound increase on the finish ball. It's just not going to happen.
But then
Like,
we
yeah. So
Tanner, in fact, Tanner did an interview of somebody on that, and he hit it like right dead on the center, that if you were to compare the majority of people, and it'd be useful to look at people that have played the game for a period of years, especially reflecting times that they took a season off, or maybe they doubled down and went really hard in a season. I know my numbers are reflected this way because you could look at Horn's website or on the grip board and see contest results going all the way back to 2010. So let's see. The worst I've ever done in a competition with the Rolling Thunder is 210, but the best I've ever done in a competition of a Rolling Thunder is like 237 on calibrated plates on game day. And then the most I've ever lifted on a brand new one is maybe 245. That's not very inspiring to think about. Like somebody might be like, oh my God, 230 on a rolling. Well, hold on now. In the way to the, like I just said, though, the worst I ever did was like 210. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
the amount of weight, I can say this. So when Eric came out to Minneapolis in 2011 or 12, whatever year it was, he and I both did 210 on the Rolling Thunder. That was a brand new Rolling Thunder for that contest. And I think Eric's in a similar boat. The best I've seen Eric do was like 242, 245,
It might be right 240, 250-ish. Yeah, it's got to be right there. 240 probably is something.
I've never seen him do worse than 210. And he and I have pretty similar hands. Like I think our hand size is pretty close. So, I mean, that's just one of those things. I think on axle. So my first contest axle that I ever did was here in Fort Worth when I came down for Paul Knight's contest in 2011, January 2011. So I pulled 386, my first axle at a contest. My best axle at any contest, like on the platform, was like what, 442, 443. And then in training, best axle 473, 474. So same thing. That's less than 100 pounds over a 14-year window. That's not very amazing. And I think, and this what Tanner was getting at though, is he said, for a lot of people, the when it's a combination, of course, how big is the hand? And then if their weight class makes that tour that's non-competitive or competitive. Because if you have a small hand and you're 70 pounds too fat, you're going to get ran the fuck over in open because you're competing against guys like Jason and Carl that are just huge human beings to start, right? Um, and then we have the fact that when you look at what your hand is made of, it's a lot of little bones, man. There's not any one bone that is all that big that all this is being anchored to. The amount of the amount of work it takes to go from being wherever you're at to where the best you're going to be, I'm gonna say, Zach, we could probably bring a guy from day one to within 95% of his absolute potential for grip strength expression in under a year. Maybe a year and a half. It won't be longer than that. And when I say that, that sounds crazy in some contexts, because that would not be what we'd agree on for, say, Olympic lifting or power lifting or marathon running. But can anybody show me an example of somebody who started the sport and like 3 years later, their numbers were just incredibly different? Because I can't think of that.
Yeah, I mean, even myself, I mean, I felt like I had pretty average numbers coming in by like my standards or who I was looking at. I had pretty average stuff, and then I kind of got to a better level. Um, but yeah, I do believe though, like if we were to say, well, I guess honestly, a good thing for this would be, I mean, I went from getting the Slater inch dumbbell dropped off in a gravel parking lot, looking at it and thinking, damn, this might just be something that 300-pound Reuters do. Maybe this just isn't for me. To, a year and a half on balancing stuff on the globes. Now,
Yes.
you got to know how to train, and it's not necessarily going to be everybody's story. But from where I started, though, I mean, I probably could pull a 140 or 150-pound dumbbell, prior to that for a baseline. Um, you know, Rolling Thunder, I might have started, and this is going to sound low to some people, but I think maybe the first time I just wandered out in the garage and tried to lift one, probably like 155, 160. I mean, first time ever touching it, not really know anything about it to, you know, yeah, I mean, hitting probably low 200s on, actual competitions, since I haven't done Rolling Thunder in comp very much or even really trained with it. Um, but yeah, I mean, so some of those numbers, I mean, even Axel, I mean, maybe from the starting point to me lifting the best Axel I've done, maybe there was a 70 to 80-pound increase. It all kind of matches up with the window we're talking about, so it is crucial to kind of know where someone starts at, because you can't just say, oh my God, they lifted this top end number. It's like, well, they already started at the top end generally,
That
so
kind of that's kind of the big thing too, is I think that's relevant is um there are just not a lot of compelling, like, empirical data to say that someone could really work their way up and achieve like that 1% number. It's really going to depend on where they're starting at.
yeah.
um and when we take what we're talking about there, it brings me to the point that for contest prep, I think that we have a lot of folks, they're going to get stuck in one of two different things. They're either doing their same contest lifts over and over, and they get to experience degrees of burnout. It's
Mhm.
just not stimulating as much. They're kind of, they're getting a little tired of doing the same thing. So it leaves you in position of, should we just keep adding more and more handles? Because that's been how we've been doing this for a while. And I don't know. I mean, guys, for me, so when was the last thing I purchased? The last fitness thing that I paid money to purchase, that's, we'll keep it in the realm of grip. Power twister bars, maybe 4 years ago. I thought those were pretty cute when they came out. Like, little fucking bendy stick thing. Cool, doop, 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 right? Um, for grip handles, I think it would have been maybe what 2021 when Grip Genie did
Like
the
an RGT or something.
yeah, like when I bought the Grip Genie shit that I was supposed to have for the event. But what's my point on that? Some of you are literally getting new handles like weekly, monthly, definitely annually. And I'm curious, are you fucking tired of it yet? Because the way the game currently goes is that we introduce a different size rolling handle. And then the same guys that take first place on the new handle, and the same guys that take second. Like, is there any grip event that is coming out that would radically shift the leaderboards? Okay. And the problem you get into is if it does, now we got to ask, is it grip centric or is it something else?
Yeah, like, oh, it's just such a tiny little thing that no one can get their hands on it. So a 95-pound person outlifts the 250 person. It's like, well, if that's the case, and I'm not saying that's happened, but you're just for this example, and if that happens, then you have to ask yourself, well, what was the sport founded on, and what are we even trying to achieve through the competition of the sport?
Yes.
Are we trying to see who has the strongest grip? Well, maybe this weird little thing that the 95-pound person outlifts the 250-pound person on isn't really meeting our goal of, hey, let's find out who has the strongest grip.
Yeah.
Maybe that just becomes something different then, because we're, the goal, like powerlifting, it's like, okay, these three core lifts, who's the strongest? What's the total? In other sports, there's different things, whether it be strongman, okay, there's a point system. You're going to have, some static events, some moving events, whatever. But the goal is to kind of see who's the most well-rounded, explosive, strongest athlete or whatever on the, within the field. So for grip, if we get to the point where we're deviating so much from the original premise of it, well, then it's not needed for this sport. It almost should just be something else. And I had somebody else that God, I don't want to get off on another one here, but somebody was kind of bringing up things to improve grip sport, and they said, I think that this could be done, this could be changed, and there was a lot of these examples. And by the time I got done reading their changes in their shit, I'm like, are you sure this is even the same sport? It's like,
Yeah.
I think maybe you should just take that stuff and create a new thing because it is so far different from what this was founded on or what this originated as that it'd almost be like, hey, let's take NFL football, but I think it'd be better if we had seven people playing and, passes couldn't go any farther than 20 yards. I'm just saying, you start putting so much on it, you're like, dude, that's not the same sport, so that's something else I've seen with trying to make the sport more viewer friendly or more entertaining. And by the time people start going off on some of these ideas, I'm like, if you want it to be this, and this, maybe go create that other sport or find something that matches that. Maybe the sport just isn't for you. But taking something that's, oh, sorry, keep going.
Done too. It's been done. So here's an example. If I wanted to showcase grip strength in a way that everybody in the world could appreciate, I would merely suggest you go watch a TV program called American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
American Ninja Warrior is the logical conclusion of if you said, I want to see who's got the strongest hands and fingers, and I want to do it in a way that the public enjoys. There you go. Go be a Ninja Warrior guy. It's that simple. If we go by events, because we've been shuffling events around, and it's just I feel like the to really break into events, you need to quit making it based on strength as the primary assessment. So we can move to endurance, we could move to skill. I'll still say this. So best 3 grip events that will show you who's got the strongest hands in the room. And this plays out meet after meet after meet. So here we go. Zach, number 1, what's the number 1 grip event if you want to find out who's got the best grip in the room? Score sheets confirm this over the last 10 years. This, to me, is indisputable. Single best event.
If we're going with It's kind of tough for me, I guess, just going right now because I'm kind of thinking of some other stuff. I
And
mean,
nobody likes the answer, by the way. We all hate it, but this is true. This is a fucking mathematically provable thing. Best single event to determine who's got the strongest grip.
are we going to say something dynamic like grippers or no?
Well,
Okay.
kind of. It's silver bullet hold.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, silver bullet. I was going to say something with
So,
where you're actually crushing, basically, or
well,
yeah.
the craziest thing is that silver bullet is an event that I can compare groups of people prepared to do a full contest. And the thing that you can see time and time again, the guy who wins silver bullet is winning the contest. It's
Usually, yeah, usually. I've
almost
seen a few
uniform.
blunders, but yeah.
But think about it. So we've now when you've seen blunders, like I've seen the worst blunder of all time with that. Like at the Arnold, it was a sad thing to watch. But if you take away technical blunders, I'm saying presuming
Oh,
every
yeah, yeah.
gets a proper start, like they don't mind fuck themselves in it, silver bullet will sort out strongest and weakest perfectly.
Pretty quick. Yeah.
Next event is axle.
I was gonna say I almost used Axel as my first one, but then I know people bitch about the body strength or just they just have big hands and they've been deadlifting heavy stuff. You know, like the strong men that maybe come in and do great on Axel, but maybe they're not as good on the bench or other stuff. But yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, you know what I mean? The thing is, this is how often would you see someone that has like anyone approaching like 1.8 body weight? You know what I mean? Like you see numbers like that. It's hard to argue that they have a shitty grip. It's
Oh
just
no, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then the problem with because that's gone all kinds of different ways. One of the things we had for a period of time was that axle requires quote too much total body strength. And then the problem is, okay, so are we trying to figure out a way for a bunch of fucking weaklings to weasel in on people that are strong, or what are we doing here? But
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
I feel like we're at a point where silver bullet, axle, and you know what I think the number three is more and more hub lifting for real. I think loadable
Okay.
hub. Um, Show me a contest that features those three events plus one other one where the guy who won was not the strongest guy there that day.
Yeah. No,
And that,
it's generally going to work out that way.
you know what I mean? And that to me is where I feel like if we're seeing people that are not loving that, then we need to start just maybe changing up exactly what we're trying to contest. Because there's all kinds of dumb shit we can do that's fun, but it's either moving in the direction where we could say that um, I'm not claiming that those three things build grip strength the best either. I'm saying if we had to prove grip strength,
Yeah.
no,
Display it on spot, same place,
right? And
you
and
know.
and so all these new handles that are pitched and organized and changing of formats in any kind of which way. The thing I would say is currently established pretty reasonably is that anytime you want to see who's got the strongest hands in the room, do those three events. Anytime you're specifically not doing one of those three events, holding a contest and claiming that the person there was the strongest, I feel like it's trying to weasel on people too much. And I'll say for us down here, every grip contest we have ever hosted features always one of those three.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Whenever one of those three events goes into contest, who has won the contest down in Texas? Tanner
It's
Merkel.
oh yeah.
You know why? Because Tanner Merkel's got the strongest fucking grip in Texas. Period. So that's my point. Like, if the events are truly grip events, then it will
Yeah.
make sense. And when they get into all kinds of other silly directions, there's nothing wrong with that. I like a silly event myself, but there's a danger in trying to get too far outside of that. Because I've heard that conversation is that, oh man, we need to change the King Kong events around. Why? Because someone who's not a winner is trying to win. I mean, the thing is that if the events are really group events, the top 10's gonna almost always
Yeah.
be the same. That's just how that.
Yeah. No, and as far as like talking about kind of weaseling in and maybe altering things to make it more favorable for oneself or other people. That's why like if I ever select or have an input in something, even like the Nationals coming up in April. You know, Jason Dingy's hosting here in Ohio, um, and Mike Saffel, and talking events. Hey, Zach, what do you think? When I give my like, what do I think? I don't do it from a place of like, oh, what am I best at? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to like, oh, let me see how I can favor this to maybe I get a favorable outcome. No, yeah, run Silver Bullet. That's the first event. Am I good at Silver Bullet? I've only contested it one time. My right wrist was kind of hurt, and I intentionally did an easy hold that wouldn't really mess up anything else going forward, and then tried to blast good on the other stuff and kind of go all out. But yeah, so like I'm not choosing Silver Bullet because it's awesome for me. That's a telltale like that's fair as to who's the strongest, right? There's actually going to be a 2 3/8 axle Euro, two different widths is going to be but just stuff that's like no one's going to leave and should question, oh man, that person kind of won on a technicality or, whatever. Generally, it's that you want to put together lineups that reach the whole point of the sport, testing grip strength, who's the strongest, or if we don't use the term strongest and maybe you went some other weird way with endurance or other stuff, still, who's the best? Whatever we're doing, who's the strongest, who's the best, whatever that looks like. But yeah, you got to have something that really, you don't have all these questions lingering around afterwards, and
Well,
generally picking those events is
because
pretty safe.
nobody fucking remembers anything. I will hearken back to fairly recent history in the sport. Okay, so when you look at David Horn starts World's Strongest Hand Series. David Horn then invents his Grip Tops series of implements. All right, so David was trying to fix two problems. The first problem is that how do you get the same equipment all across the world? Well, it can't be too big and too heavy. So I got, you know what I mean? I got to get this thing where I can get in a small box. But the other thing he did specifically that came in with that, and whether it was directly intentional or not, doesn't matter. He looked smart on the back end of it. You can't say that it's a hand size dictated thing. In the years that we were running like shallow hub, half penny lift, stub lift, some of these fucking things. And here's the question. So you get into those events where hand size was pretty much taken out of it to a substantial amount. Did the leaderboards change those years? And the answer is no, they did not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
no, yeah, I mean, it basically goes back to like you're strong is strong.
Strong is strong.
And,
so I think that the point of what we've been getting at here is that, directions it puts me that I'm taking myself in directions I want to encourage others is see what you want to develop next and understand how easily it is to bring these things back in when they're truly relevant. Like one of my dumbass side goals that I'll knock out at some point this year. And now it's so clear to me when it will be time to do it and knock it out. I would really like to build to the point that I could get like 30 pinch grip pull-ups in a row. And when I think about, okay, so how much time would it take to actually do that, doing it the right way with how I would tackle it now? I bet I could move the number of pinch reps up by a third every 20 to 25 days. Just understanding now how much of that is really driven by, this is more of a neurological problem. It's not like I need to actually increase my pinch as much as I need to work on the recruitment part of it.
mm-hmm.
And when you understand that, it's like, cool, how much time does that free up to not be fucking around with things that, tend to give people more elbow tendonitis and how many guys are still having elbow problems right now? And it's because they think if they stop doing all the things they're doing, they're going to lose all that strength. And it's like, come on, man, let's fix the elbow because we can get you right back to that point so fast. That is another thing that I would say, Zach, is a great challenge for everyone in our community. Grip athletes should not be getting retired because of elbow pain. That is ludicrous. We, of all people, should be the fucking experts of how you fix it.
I was going to say that, yeah.
If you're a fucking grip guy, you should be the hero in the room when a buddy of yours is having a problem, because you could be the guy who knows how to fix it. And as a community, we're just not there. The parallel that I see is from my involvement of arm wrestling, is like virtually every single arm wrestler is having the same kind of problems, and it's this big ass echo chamber. Like, it's just everybody's just repeating whatever their favorite current champion guy is, having the same problems. And to me, it's like so easily solvable. So the thing that I'll offer as we start to wrap up here, if you are currently having elbow pain, okay, I will give you some pointers. If you want to be coached out of your elbow pain, and that means you want my time, you can hire me for it. I will tell you the free thing right up front, but if you actually need time and energy to get it sorted, I'll sort your ass out. But bro, like, elbow pain is so easily fixed, and we're not seeing more people fix it. I see more notices of people bitching about tendonitis in the last 6 months that I've seen in years. And it's because you got a bunch of people doing monkey see. How many of you dumbasses started doing plate curls because you see me doing plate curls, and then you messaged me because you got tendonitis? Fucking told you guys from the beginning, don't do it. I got something
I got to bring up, Adam. I something I literally was going to do with this. No, it's a quote of yours here. I had to ask you a question. This might be why you posted it. So I cracked up when I saw this. I actually screenshotted it. So I literally was going to bring it in at some point, but you literally just kind of jumped on the subject. I was going to ask you, like, hey, what was going through your head when you posted this? Because typically, I've been a person in the past, and I'll be completely like transparent with everybody. There's been times where I would see people plate curling with the whole pizza flop wrist and all that. And I'm telling you, people, 100%, I would hit up Adam thinking that I knew what he was going to say, and he would completely surprise me. So there's one time I hit you up and I was like, man, like, I'm tired of all these people doing plate curls that are shitty and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, like, Adam's going to completely just be like, yeah, whatever, just, in agreement that, like, yeah, it's defeating the whole purpose of a plate curl. And Adam was very like, every lift has its purpose and da da da. Like, just kind of finds like a neutral ground. You don't just like burn them down, right? But then at the same time, I was like, man, is he just kind of like playing nice, or is he just, I don't know. But then I saw this post and I had to laugh because I was like, that was the first response I was expecting back in the day. So you posted a story a while back, Adam. It's probably a long time because I haven't been on social media, but I wanted to know what was going through your head and what caused this. And maybe this discussion was part of it. So real quick, you said, I must warn you, attempt to replicate my weekly programming and you will develop the most crippling elbow pain in the world. We ain't built the same, and you don't know how to fix your tendons enough to even try it. Fuck around and find out at your own peril. I've been at this shit since Bill Clinton was in the Oval Office. So I was busting out laughing at that, and I'm like, oh man, Adam's getting after it today. I just pictured you plate curling or doing something wild, and people trying to imitating it, and that's basically you just saying, hey, there's levels to this game. But yeah,
it comes down to so somebody plays monkey see, monkey do.
That's most of social media,
right?
No one cares about actually training or knowing what the hell's going on.
Jumping in, they have this problem when they reach out. It's this accusatory tone, like, man, you you're not really doing this or doing that. It's like, hey man, it sounds like this is what your current predicament is, and I'm gonna play crystal ball for a couple minutes and tell you what your next 8 months is gonna look like. And then I'm gonna just take a stab at it and predict how you're gonna fare through this. If your understanding of your body from a fitness point of view starts and ends with talk of muscle groups, you don't know a fucking thing about your body. I promise you that. Right? You might have had good parents and maybe you have more muscle to your body right now, but if your comprehension starts and stops there, in terms of what are the kind of problems we get into in training with a big problem, bro. Part of our problem is modern life creates its own set of conditions. Like Zach, for you on a given day, think about how often you have to be like not out chasing an elk through the woods.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. Our lifestyle in general is we almost have to make it a priority to challenge ourselves with physical things because there's such a lack of it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I need to go on a weighted vest walk today. Let me throw 50 pounds on it, go hit a couple miles because I'm not going to have to do it. If I don't make myself do it, it won't happen. You know?
So the consequences that I think everybody has a grab on is they're like, yeah, I don't think my muscles are really well developed up for maybe my age and activity levels. Cause hey, maybe this guy's an attorney and he's making $275 an hour sitting in front of his computer. You better believe he's going to be sitting in front of the computer all day. Right. The thing that people don't understand though is your muscles are only the quality of your connective tissue and your bones. And when you have shitty tendons, shitty ligaments, shitty bones, or you've been doing things to your body that results in them having issues, man, a tear a muscle, sprain a muscle, tear a muscle, it'll fix itself out literally in days. Worst case scenario, a couple weeks. When you have, especially when you look at what people are doing themselves, where they are deforming their muscle tissue. And I wonder if I got a little rubber band in front of me to kind of make a point here. Okay. It's not good. All right. Try to work me. I have a rubber band. I pulled rubber band. I let it go. What would you expect to happen?
I mean, it's going to shoot and,
right?
Snap.
So it returns to its original position. So we would say, hey, that is a good rubber band. That is serviceable. That's what the manufacturer intended. That's what you wanted when you bought it. You can deform it and it returns. Now, if you take a rubber band and we were to stretch it out and maybe stick it on 2 pegs and leave it there for 6 months, when you take it off the pegs, it does not return. Right? So it has been plastically deformed. It is no longer in its original position. Now, the difference between the rubber band and your body is that you're always in a position to improve a body part from where it currently is, with some exception. But if you don't understand what that looks like, you're going to be the guy chasing 3 rabbits in the field and coming home with 0 every time. It is extremely important to understand what things are supposed to move, how much they're supposed to move, what they're supposed to do when they don't move, what they're supposed to do when they do move, and the focus on looking at the body specifically by muscles. The only way we got to this point is that the way that most people have any comprehension of anything fitness, they probably got from 80s movies and bodybuilding culture, and maybe for younger people than us, maybe internet kind of bullshit. But like, it's a tremendous limitation to not understand how to fix your own tissue. Okay. And here's the most frustrating part. Go especially if you're an American. Maybe it's better in some of the other countries. I doubt it. And everywhere else sucks compared to here, and we kind of suck here. So like that's not great. Go to your doctor and tell them you're having pain in your elbow when you're doing something. What's the very first thing they tell you, Zach?
Stop doing that.
Stop doing that. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna take the next 30 days off. And hey, man, the end of 30 days, that's shit. That ain't feeling so bad. And then you go back in the gym and you do whatever was causing the pain. And what happens? Motherfucker, it hurts just like the last time I did this. And then you think, okay, maybe I need to take 2 months off. And then you get to really feeling nice after 2 months. Come back in that gym, you go to do that thing, and what happens? Holy shit, it still fucking hurts, just like the last time it hurt. I need you guys to understand or don't understand, completely be disagreeable, but go do the experiment and let's sort it out. Bro, you cannot fix tendon issues that are tendon movement related by not moving and taking time off. It will not work. If you currently have debilitating lateral or medial epicondylitis and you simply take time off, I will bet whatever dumbass bet you want to make with me, you lose as soon as you return to the activity. And Zach, that is 100% changeable. Like, it does not have to be that way. It is. I'm not going to call it an easy thing, and I'm not even going to call it simple, but like that is the two words that come to my mind. Like, it is easy to fix because it's easy in the sense of there's things you do and that will work, and there's things that if you don't do that shit, it won't work. That makes it easy to understand, and it's simple to me because you have to do that amount of work until it's better, and if you don't, it doesn't get better. But I do understand that for a lot of people this seems so fucking complicated, but it is not. And it's not like this is some shit where everybody used to have this shit figured out. That's not true either. But we're seeing worse tendon issues in people nowadays than we would have seen 30, 40, 50 years ago, because you have a much more deconditioned group of people. And speaking in bigger pictures of population, there's a whole bunch of groups that when the shit's not working out, the solution is to go buy more supplements or maybe add some steroids, or maybe that's just not for you. Like, they determine that, oh, I'm just not able to do that thing. And to me, it's like, if you don't do the right thing, you can't get to this thing. If if I wanted to grill you a sirloin, bro, and I don't go start a fire in the grill, I can do everything else perfectly, but you don't get a grilled steak. And this deficit of information is, like, to me, it's like the dumbest reason that we have people falling out of the game. I know for me, within the arm wrestling circuit down here, like Texas has just such a fucking awesome group of amateur to high level competition arm wrestling. And it's a group that's always expanding. They're always welcoming new people in. And the thing that you can predict, if 10 new guys start the sport this month, we're going to lose a couple of them pretty fast, just because maybe it's not the right sport for them, or maybe it's not the right time for them. That's all fine and well. The sad thing, though, is that the end of a year or two, you might not even keep one of the 10. And the three things that are going to stop the majority of them is going to be medial lateral elbow pain, and then problems in their shoulder. And all of these are predictable when you look at what their fitness is like before they begin. And it becomes extremely predictable when you look at basically what they're not doing, even though they're doing this. And I'm trying to be more empathetic for the people that are having this problem, to be able to help. But I'm running short on supply because the only reason I know a lot of these things is because I read a fucking book. Like Jesus Christ, read a book, please. Like I'm not talking about an Arnold Schwarzenegger book, and I'm not talking about an interview with Chris Bumstead. Okay, go read some medical textbooks, read some current physical therapy, take a look at what they figured out over the last couple of years, and then you have to like do enough of it that you understand where they are missing some points. But I will tell you right now, in North America, one of the best soft tissue specialists ever of all time has done what, 5 podcasts in just the last 12 months, where maybe being the greatest expert in this field of knowledge, he's getting on some of the biggest platforms on the internet. And I'll talk to people and they'll tell me like, man, my fucking arm's killing me, bro. And I say, I got you. Listen to this podcast. 6 weeks goes by, bro. I'm expecting that when I call you in 6 weeks that you're going to tell me how badass everything's going. They're telling me they didn't even listen to the podcast. And my answer is, bro, if you can't even endure, like everybody's always holding their fucking phone to their head continuously anyway. But if you know what I mean, if I sent them 100 reels of retarded shit, they'd watch every video. Here's a video or an interview of a guy talking about how to fix your dumb bum elbow, and they can't even get through it. And if you can't even endure a 40-minute conversation to learn how to fix the problem, like you're going to do the other shit. And that's
No, 100%.
because we could change it. Like out there now, Zach, out of the current group of people who may ever get to experience this podcast, we could probably be in the pocket for like 98% of tendon pains these guys are going to have could be mitigated. Now, there's always that one outlier. Maybe the guy was oil field roughneck and he's used to heavy vibration impact tools. That's more complex to fix, but it can be fixed. Maybe someone was in a terrible car accident and they got plates and shit in their limbs. Well, that's going to change some shit. But like the guys that you and I know that have come and gone and we're never going to get them back in this game because of tendon pain, like it doesn't have to be that way. It's just everybody's so fucking lazy and they don't want to do the work, you know?
Yeah, and Adam, I've seen so many stories of anytime. I mean, I've been in those situations where like back and disc issues at certain times, and it's one of those things where you hit a certain point where I'm like, man, how many times am I going to make this same mistake, screw myself up, and then well, take the time, I'll come back and do the same thing, whatever. But it's like, or get to the point where you think, man, maybe this just isn't for me, and I should walk. I've reached that point several times, a lot more than people would probably think, and that's even before I even found out about grip, just lifting in general and other stuff. Like maybe I shouldn't just do any of this. But then I find these examples of people that had some things figured out, or I find the pieces, I research, I listen, I go to the best sources, I go to, people that maybe aren't even in that same field, but off the wall. Like you said, hey, instead of reading a book or instead of listening to a podcast with some bodybuilder person that's trendy in fitness, like go read a medical book. Just there's always some avenue, some way. So when I see people that have come back from, breaking their back or dislocating stuff and just, I don't know, just the craziest stuff you could imagine. And I see how they do it and apply some of that to mine or, the medical stuff, whatever the research may be. But at the end of the day, if you want it bad enough, you will do it. But if, like you said, you check in with somebody, you give them advice, and then they're still not, oh yeah, I plan on getting to that. It's like, well, you don't care enough. Like, and it doesn't matter what, you could spoon feed them the answer, and you can't make somebody do something, And
For me, that was the greatest error in my own character, that led me to such a place of disappointment that I threw the baby out with the bathwater. Is when I think about when I was really working and coaching with a lot of people. Why did I turn away from that? Okay. And for me, it was 2 levels of immaturity. So the first level of immaturity was thinking that I can care more about your goals than you do
Oh yeah.
and somehow be justified in being outraged of your failure. Goddamn, Zach, I can't believe you didn't do this thing. We just talked for 3 weeks, but how you well, you know what? That's fucking stupid of me. Like, who the fuck am I to tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing? And that was very dumb of me. And I can look back now and say, man, that was just a bad attitude on my part to ever be more concerned about someone else's success than they were. Like, I'm not your fucking dad. That's your dad's problem to be disappointed with, not me. You know what I mean? That was
No.
bullshit. But and then the bigger thing that came out of it was not appreciating really just you know what, man, for a lot of people, their word is not their bond. And that's a fact. So quit holding it against them as if it should have been. When someone tells you that something is important to them, don't be stupid. Pay no heed. Listen to what they say only to the extent that you can observe what they're doing. And if you are finding that the words that come out of their mouth do not align with the things that they do, don't get all stick up your butt and be upset.
Yeah.
You instead need to stop and ask yourself, how did I call this wrong? And that was the error that I made, is I'd listen. I used to listen to people, bro. I used to listen to all the words they would say and all that. And I thought that, and now I've learned, man, like, everybody can say whatever they want because we're really just going to pay attention to what they're doing and what
Yeah.
comes next and what comes next. And you will really figure out what are they reaching for and what are they successful and where are they failing, and that to me has made it puts me in this position again where the idea of trying to be helpful to someone else is trying to help themselves, that sounds agreeable, because I've had periods over the years where I said, don't fucking call me. Like, if I don't fucking know you, don't call me unless you got some kind of good offer to make. And now I'm back to parts like, if you think you're stuck, I'll show you some shit. But the other thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to follow up and ask if you did it, because I used to
Get super invested.
yeah, man.
Right.
Like, that's just me being a dumbass to like,
Nah, dude, same thing. Because yeah, you start getting invested in it, and you start taking the way you would treat yourself or your own goals, and you try to do that for them, and they just don't have that, or their actions don't line up with it, and then you end up getting pissed off or almost sort of like, I don't know, bummed
no,
out by it. You
I,
know?
I and to me, I think about like, and that to me, just when I look back, I just feel like, man, that was so immature. Um, what, how dumb that in my life I have found a reason to have a problem with someone else, even though specifically they did not do anything to me. You know what I mean? I'm
No.
deciding I had a problem because this person's not, oh man, they fucking say they want to get better and they're not getting better. And I decide I have a problem with that. But why? They didn't do anything to me. And
Yeah,
it,
no, I'm guilty of it as well. I
you know,
mean, it's several times, very similar situations. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
and I, over the years, I've really, really challenged myself on that. And it's like, man, don't you can have a problem with a problem, but don't have a problem with the person unless the person's being a problem for you. And that's been a direction I've been attempting to really um, get myself fully in line with, just because uh, I mean, hey man, if somebody's going to have enemies, they're going to have enemies. But the idea of making everybody an enemy just is really fucking counterproductive. You know what I mean?
it gets really tiring. Yeah,
Uh,
you don't have enough energy and time to handle every single person in the world
you
and
know, and
solve every problem. Yeah.
that
Oh,
that
man.
that's that I feel like that's the craziest thing about our time, like our specific time right now, is that a person who wants to basically get, all the doors open to be able to go right to the front of the line and be able to learn from any given person who's doing well at something, like that's the time of right now. Like, damn, man, if you wanted to be masterful, hey, you told me the other day you were messing around with your headphones and shit. We're at a point right now that you could get a hold of somebody who does only the highest level audio programming for something like this, and potentially you could get a hold of that person. And I think it's so crazy that, like, what a powerful tool. And the way we're primarily using this, though, is to basically break the field out into as many different opponents as we possibly can as time goes on. Like in application, the 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 way that it goes, it just looks so funny to me. And I think that the amount of room for real expertise we're coming to an end to that point. And this is kind of what I'll wrap up on now.
Yeah.
So in the next couple of years, we're going to hit a point where the answer to any question is going to be AI generated and handed over, and it will just be considered the answer every time. Like, right now, if you think about these apps, such as like a Chat GTP, will give you an answer to a question, and most people don't feel very confident actually be able to challenge that answer. And we are very quickly going to reach a point where that answer is going to be the only answer, and you'd be considered a retard to not pay attention to that thing.
Yeah.
A
lot of people either can't think for themselves or they don't want to think for themselves.
And I think we're going to be crossing into a line where it's going to be specifically very, very much turned away from. Meaning, if the computer told you that was the answer, and the fact, if you're not believing the computer, there's going to be a problem. So here's what I'd say. The timeline of anybody who actually has learned anything and their ability to maybe use that information to be helpful to other people, dude, I'm telling you right now, the sun is setting. We're going to hit a point where I think there's going to be so many industries that are going to collapse out. Like the rug's going to get pulled underneath their feet. And when they start to fall, there's going to be no bottom. Like that will just simply disappear. We're going to very quickly hit a point that, AI will have mapped a given system so thoroughly that it would be almost a disadvantage to take any other path other than what it's going to outline for the people. And within that, whatever things don't get captured up in that are simply going to disappear. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of stuff specifically in the world of being an athletic, fully developed human that an AI software is never going to grab onto. And you remember that Pixar movie WALL-E, where the little robot guy, he's a trash collector. You might not say you'd love it.
Maybe I don't know. Was that like what year are we talking?
Like early 2000s, guys? WALL-E. So check it out. You might like it.
I probably would know it if I saw it. Like if I saw that, I got it. But yeah, off the top of my head, it's not something that stands out.
It's an adorable movie. But one of the things about the movie that actually trip you out when you see it now is the state of humanity at that point is basically they're 100% in the care of their artificial intelligence, and whatever it decides for them is got to be the best answer. And that's one of the things that comes up in the story. And you look at something like that and you think, oh wow, it's like, no, actually that might be in the lifetime that you're living right now. We may cross into a gap like that in under a 20-year window, meaning if a couple had a baby this year, by the time that baby is old enough to vote, the difference of their childhood would be so remarkably different from yours or mine, which even in itself, if you thought about how different our childhoods were from someone who was born, who lived through World War I, like it's this mark, right? And the the things that we currently do just for fun, just to not go crazy in the modern world, they're going to become, I think, so essential in the coming years for a group of people, because it's going to be that the only way someone's going to know certain things about themselves is if they'll go out and do it. That the only way they're getting their information is through that AI system. Think about how many things are not on Google. Has it ever occurred to you when you look at somebody like, fucking Google doesn't know this? Because Google doesn't know because it doesn't know. Well, that's going to be a bigger picture later on. There'll be whole pieces of information that it just slides right on off and down the way. And you look at things like, will people still be reading books in 40 years from now? I don't think so. I think a person may still read a book. Do I think people will read books? No, I do not. And
Probably not the majority of people.
oh no, I mean, it would be the tiniest chunk. Just as even right now, literally this moment, it's already a tiny, tiny chunk. And within that big picture, when you look at how soft we seem to be compared to men who lived 200 years ago, and then you look at how soft men are going to be 50 years from us, it's not like this kind of wavy line. It looks like a fucking roller coaster getting started. And, I feel like if people in the future can get anything from that we could leave behind for them, bro, I would really want it to be them attempting to figure out and conquer their body as much as they can anything else. Particularly because everything is got a expiration date attached to it. There's this window of time that you're just nearly goddamn indestructible, and you can make all these dumbass mistakes and figure things out, and then you hit a point that you need to start getting smarter and get smarter. That's why, to me, the people that I listen to the very most relating to training, Zach, are all in their 60s right now, because that means they went all the way up to the ramp. They hit their true peak years, which your actual strength peak, guys, is in your 50s, not your 30s. Make sure you remember that. Strongest motherfuckers on the planet are in their 50s right now. And to be denied that just because they don't know would seem so sad. So that's what I'd want, is that idea that, figure it out in yourself. Take that into your immediate social circle. Be the guy in your circle who knows how to control his body weight. Doesn't mean you got to walk around looking like Brad Pitt from Fight Club, but I'd at least want it that if you said to yourself, I am going to do that, that you really would know how to do it. You know what I mean? I think that everybody would be good to get very lean one time as an adult, just so that you don't get dumb ideas stuck in your head. Like, you've heard me say this before. If I took any guy right now and I dropped him down to 6% body fat, like click of the fingers, it doesn't actually change your life. Like, if you don't like yourself, you still are not going to like yourself. If everyone around you thinks you're an asshole, now you're just an asshole who's skinny. But you should know how to do that, because it's pretty useful to know how to do that. I think it would be great if every person really did know, like, hey, I want to deadlift double body weight. How do I build up that strength? Doesn't mean I think everyone needs to be able to do something like that, but it'd be cool if you really, not just theory craft, you could get there, but no, like, you really would know what to do. And if it occurred to you, you could make it happen. It's very rewarding. And the part that I added on to here, man, figure out how to fix your bodily problems, because other people won't. If you go, but if I go to the doctor right now and say my elbow hurts, he's just going to tell me don't do that. What if I want to do that? What if I need to do that? How many people have shitty knees right now that could be fixed under 6 months? That guy on Instagram, I like his channel, that knees over toast guy. Have you seen that shit?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. He's over something like 20,000 positive testimonials. You know what the saddest thing is there's like 100,000 physical therapists in the world. It could have been any of them that could have made that happen, but it was that guy. Like, how crazy is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that's what I'm sort of got going on right now. I think, like, I don't think it will look to be any kind of big exciting year from the perspective of grip community side, but
Yeah.
I've got some things. I'm tell you the biggest project I've been working on is still the one I'm working on is curling that fucking 25 kilo plate. It's just a monster effort. I feel like it just needs to sit there and simmer until I'm all the way there.
And that's a rogue plate. I mean, calibrated plates are generally about the same. I was just curious, but yeah.
Yeah, the calibrated ones, it's how thin they are.
Oh,
It's
for sure. Yeah. I mean, just
fulcrum.
yeah, yeah. And when I was just getting to like plate curling a 35, even going to a 15 kilo that's thinner and slightly longer, it's 33 pounds, but it'll just the narrow pinch and then how much it would fold my wrist back. Probably about 2 years ago when I first was like trying to make the jump to it. Now it's definitely a little bit different. But I mean, yeah, there was like 35-pound plates I could curl, but they're a little bit thicker, had a different lip on them. Then you go down to that smaller, the slicker paint generally, and that couple extra inches of length. You could have a lighter plate and, number wise, oh, 33 pounds. Well, shouldn't that be easier than the 35? It's like, no, because there's like three factors that change just the leverage, the width, and then the texture, everything. It's like, it's one of those things that people have to you got to take in like multiple factors for some of these feats instead of just blanket like, oh, the weight. And we've talked about that with plate curling and stuff. I mean, the weight's not really as important as the length almost, or the
Yeah.
distribution of the weight, right? But no, yeah, absolutely, that'll be an awesome one to knock off. I almost wish I could like just teleport these plates. I have a 25 kilo plate, or 225 kilos, but they're the older, I think like 1980s Eleiko powerlifting plates. So they have. I'll send you pictures of them, but they have kind of like a different thing on. But I would almost like to see like if that felt any different in your hand than the Rogue. You
I bet
know,
you know what? It's funny. I bet I'll get it because I am currently closer to pinching two Rogue 35s together than I am that 155, and it deals with this width. When I'm
mhm,
getting here, it's just so much strain on that thumb joint.
yeah,
It's going to be like another year to have that joint tight enough on it. If it was a thicker plate, it'd go right now. Like it's on a thicker grip, it's feeling absolutely stupid. Like so at the gym that I'm at, they got a bunch of calibrated plates, and I'm now fucking around of things like doing three of the Rogue Green 25s at once.
okay,
You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
power is there, but man, being able to clamp down on that super thin 55, it's like it's so many little problems that I'm feeling with it. But that will be the one this year. It will be this year, bro. I'm that
No,
close.
man, that'll be one everybody's looking forward to, and yeah, I mean, I would say just based off of like a million other past videos, you're probably not going to be throwing the body English on it and.
No,
I only joke because I mean, Adam, you're still trying to work on the 25. I've probably seen a dozen people curl 55-pound plates
hell
on
yeah.
Instagram. They just looked like bent wrist plate cleans instead of plate curls, but I'm kind of just joking. I'm just talking shit on people's form there. But, but yeah, no, that's the part that I think I'm looking forward to is if you hit that, I just know that it'll also be on par with the standard that you have already created, you know, prior. And in my head, I say you're the best plate curler that's ever existed. Regardless of, maybe half the people listening don't even know what that is, or maybe no one cares, but still, there's like a level of like to be the best at any one thing, regardless of how, oh, it's a niche sport, blah, blah, blah. I don't care to say that someone's the best in the world, but and for what my opinion's worth, I'd say you are in that regard. I know Carl's done some real big ones, but I don't know. There's just something about the form and the strictness of the wrist. And I just feel like if there was a tutorial or a like textbook picture, this is a plate curl, I can't think of somebody else that should be that example more than you for what you've done with plate curling and everything else. So no, I absolutely look forward to it because, like I said, I think it'll be done with integrity, and I think it'll be done the right way, and it won't have to be questioned. Whereas online nowadays, half the videos I see from people, I have to question, what are they doing? Is something on? Is there more than meets the eye to this? But yeah, so no, I look forward to that feat 100% for that. Adam, I do have one thing before I let you go, man.
Yeah,
Um,
but
Not as serious as a lot of these other topics we've talked about. A while back, this probably would have been, what would have been? I got to think here. Yeah, it might be a decent time back, but anyway, regardless, there was a recap that you called into. Now, this is more of just a fun kind of a joke here, but there's a recap that you called into, and I think we did a show afterwards. The recap was Alex Gee in New York had the feet meet, and I think Chaz Strange was still on here, and was talking for that. But you
I remember.
called in, you called in and you said there was a baby goat that was possibly dying. So you're on the middle of the show and you called in and you were out at the pasture and you were talking about you had a baby goat that you were with. Just for the listeners that remember that moment, did that goat make it? Do you remember?
Uh, it did not. So
Okay. So we have a follow up. It's been about a year or two. So
and
okay.
my whole herd. So we had a terrible drought the last couple of years. Last summer, I was having a problem where they were getting something that was contagious and making them waste. So the pattern I would see is that a given goat in a given paddock would start sitting down a lot more, not moving around as much during the day. They would have a terrible case of like 2 or 3 days of diarrhea. Now that presents as one kind of problem. So the first couple times I'm treating them as if they're having a coccidia outbreak. That would clear up. The diarrhea would go away. And then over a 21-day window, they would all do the same thing, drop 20 to 30 pounds and die in the sun in days.
Hmm.
And once I realized, like, okay, so it's not a coccidia thing. It's not being controlled by any of our current parasite controls. We reached a very tough decision, and that was to call the entire herd off last year going into fall. And really, for me, the breaking point was so getting rid of a body is a problem. So getting rid of one dead goat is not too big of a deal. When you start losing 3, 4, 5 in a week, it starts to become a problem. And I had hit a point that I said, okay, so I can count my money right now looking at them for where they're at. And if I take them to auction to go to slaughterhouse today, I'm going to get a check. If I decide on that next week, I'm just going to be figuring out how to get rid of bodies. And now I'm paying somebody else to help me. And that was a bummer kind of move. But man, the reality is that for anything with livestock, you are going to be financially compromised and it never makes money the way you think it will. There's nobody making money the way that anybody assumes it would be. And for me, having a food animal that we're raising is a good contribution, but you will just be tested in so many ways. So one of the problems I have to do is I'm going to have to get a new herd going by about mid-year here. It's part of the conditions for my tax exemption for my property. And it has already put me in a position where I've really looked at infrastructure and said, what are the problems I don't want to have to overcome in the future? What are design changes that I need to make? And I think there's a huge part of it of you either need to have a very static number on the property, like you've got 10 and it doesn't go to 11, it stays at 10, meaning you're not introducing new animals to the property routinely that can bring in new shit, or you need to have some decided lines of basically when you're going to wipe the slate clean and start again. The longer any given herd is in a given area, the more you're potentially going to get issues in itself. Because you got to remember, for these animals, if they were in enough territory to live exactly the way they would live, they would cover pretty large amounts of distance over the course of, say, a month. Like if they had it their own way, they would never eat, shit, and sleep in the same area. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So with any level of confinement, you start to have to solve some big ass problems. And I'll tell you, for me, we had 1 year, a couple years back, that we had something like either 95 to 100 babies born, and we lost like six. Pretty good odds, pretty good math, pretty profitable. Last year, just the first 30 days of our breeding window, already had like 15 or 16 that were born and died within the first 72 hours, which that is really, really unusual. We had a whole
Mhm.
other batch of kids that they got to like 3, 4 weeks, and then they started getting health problems, wasting away and dying. And then I even had a couple that they looked pretty good until 12 weeks. And it's like going into month number 4, man, they started to look stunted, they started to look shitty, and then drop dead. And the thing is of testing and these kinds of things is that you can pay a lot of money out to get no real answers back other than get rid of them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I could have a body sent to the university and pay all this money for them to dissect it and run all these tests. But at the end of the day, the only thing the answer comes back says get rid of them. So uh, I am currently enjoying not having a lot of my time tied up there. I've only got a couple on the property now, and they basically only function like lawnmowers. Like I've got them. They have a big free reign, big area, and I think that when we go back to doing a breeding program, it's going to be a just totally different scale than I've done in the past. I think we went way too big with the amount of space that we have, and I don't want to pay for that problem again. I'll tell you that.
No, yeah, I got you. I didn't mean to reel you in there too much. I was just, it's one of those funny ones because it was just kind of a funny moment because on that interview that I was doing with them, it's like people just hear a voice because the picture wasn't on, and then I think I asked you something about, "Hey, Adam, is your camera off on purpose?" And you're like, "Hey, I'm out here in the field. I got this goat that's dying," and it was just like it was totally out of left field, but I've had people joke around like, "Hey man, if you ever get Adam back on the show, ask him if that goat made it." So I literally, yeah, I have had some people ask me, so I just wanted to kind of do that one for them, or just for the sake of following up. But yeah, no, like I said, hopefully if you get back into that, that'll the the knowledge and the adjustments will be there for whatever the future action is. But no, man, had a good time kind of catching up on some stuff, and yeah, for anybody listening in. We didn't necessarily dive too deep into grip sport specific, or we didn't get too crazy with that, but generally I don't know, Adam, you're probably the same way, but like I think that most people that are the best at what they do, they often borrow pieces from other stuff. Meaning, the best basketball player is probably taking something that this football coach said, or I don't know, just other sports. There's other things, or there's other perspectives. So maybe something we talked about with dieting could be applied to someone's grip training. I know that might sound crazy to some people, but I often do that a lot of times. I might look at how like a certain coach in this demographic or sport handled something, and then how does that apply to this, or how could we adjust it. So while we're not sitting here talking about, hey, put your middle finger in line with this on the crusher handle, it's not just nerdy grip talk. Hopefully some of these things that were covered in some of these kind of thought-provoking discussions will be applied to the training, or be applied to just general life, that then improves the training. So it's more of a freestyle podcast, just kind of getting through some of these ideas. But yeah, the best athletes and the best lifters, athletes, whatever they do, generally have kind of a broad range of things that they're pulling from. They're not just tunnel vision in their one lane and living and dying by that. So I don't know. That would just be my message to people that have listened in. If you don't feel like it directly related to the sport, all of these aspects would, whether it be dropping the body weight, you know what I mean? Like that stuff's going to factor into recovery, which is going to help your sport. So we could always break it down. I mean, we could almost talk about, even, hey, problem solving with livestock. I can find a way to make that make sense for my grip training. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I put too much volume in here and I was killing myself. And I really, if I would probably perform better if I shaved it down to this. So I know I'm kind of being hypothetical and getting a little, I don't know, exaggerating to some extent there. But yeah, I think the best people that have that good training mind can really take from all facets of everything and whatever, make life training, all the above better. So, yeah, Adam, I thank you for the time. I thank you for just getting some of these discussions going. And yeah, man, gotta get you on here. This is more of just a one-on-one with us talking, but I'd love to get 3, 4, 5 people on and just hit some of these things where we have other voices going. So if you're ever up for it, man, I'd definitely like to get you back on and get some other voices throwing ideas back and forth. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
So,
holler at me whenever you want to try. If I'm not, if I'm not on the job site, I'm down to jump in. And no
okay, yeah. Is there anything that you would like to close with? I know we've already kind of, I don't know, ran on a good portion here, but anything you'd like to close with, or just last words?
A last words would be is I know that we'll see. What are we at? Like 2 weeks out from the Arnold, 2 or 3. So, hey,
About 2 weeks,
good
yeah.
luck to all of you going out to Columbus. Um, everybody's marketing and hype aside, I really do think that the level of competition that you are going to be stepping into that weekend, I think it's probably. I don't know if I think it's the best venue, but it certainly is the venue you need to go to if you want to really just see how well you're doing amongst the other very serious people. So I think congratulations in advance to everyone who's able to make it and compete this year. And I hope you guys have fun out there to that. That weekend to me is always like a hate it while I'm there, but look back like, that was so bad. It's just so damn big, man. There's so much going on, but definitely for that contest, for those that are specifically going out, good luck in the event. And I will be very interested to see how this pans out with nationals coming up. I think that Mike and Jason are going to do a great job setting that up. And I need to hit you up later on. I'm just curious what events those guys are doing this year.
Okay, yeah, no, we can talk about that. And also, Adam, there is just to catch up to speed, hopefully here. But the North Americans is also going to be this year. They're running that every 2 years now. There was like a brief period, I guess, with the whole COVID thing and all that. But 24, Eric held it in
Yes.
Canada, and the plan from then, that him and Jed had discussed was alternating that every 2 years. So both Canada and the U.S. will have nationals yearly as an annual competition, but North Americans will alternate between Canada and the U.S. every 2 years. So
Yeah, cool. I like that idea.
24 was Eric, and he put together a 2-day event. I think 2-day competition with 6 to 7 total events, like 3 or 4 one day, and then so made it a 2-day deal. Went really well. Had a killer medley. I don't even want to think about the work he put into dragging all those weights out of his basement or wherever his home gym is, because oh my God, he has like like a scoop off of a backhoe, and they had weights in the bucket and we're lifting it like, I mean, just off the wall stuff. But that's stuff that someone has to carry up some stairs and load in a vehicle and get to the venue. But they had an awesome competition last year. Jeff Peterson put in a proposal to host it this year. And Jeff has some really cool ideas and really good stuff. So I'll get you the info on that too, Adam. But it's going to be in Minnesota. And also 2 days. I think the second day might be at like Great Mall of America on their platform and everything. So it's going to be a pretty nice venue and some pretty wild events too. I think it's good for the sport. But yeah, that's going to be in June. So the nationals for the U.S. will be April here coming up, and June will be North American. So yeah, this first 6 months of the year, we're gonna, the first 2 months a little slow. January, February, not a lot happening.
Oh, it's always like that stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, once the Arnold hits, I think from March to June, man, things are really going to be kicked up a notch this year. So yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that as those things start to develop. But yeah, we'll see. I'll try to talk you into coming to nationals. Hopefully, maybe you could just submit a video so that we know that you're worthy enough to get there. I'm just messing with you. Hey, Adam, could you plate curl a 35? I'm joking. It would be stupid easy for you if you had to qualify via video submission. Because I mean, whatever the weights are, it would be a piece of cake. But yeah, you might not have the time to cruise into Ohio and hang out and do all that with everything else going on. But I think you would like the events though. Or you also have spent some time in Minnesota, right? Maybe go back up around that area, some old stomping grounds, and do a big thing in North America. So I don't know. I'm not trying to drag you out of your hiatus just yet, but yeah, if you hosting some stuff down there, or if you were to ever travel and get back out, it'd be something I think people would look forward to. And I think there's enough good stuff in the sport happening that yeah, I think we might start seeing some better participation, or maybe some people who have kind of taken some breaks. Maybe piques their interest and kind of gets them back in. There's some different, different characters, different, competitive people that are, popping up that it makes it fun again, so you might not have that feeling of, man, the weight class is a little hollow other than these guys. And if they're not there, it's not worth the trip. Things could change in, this year, next couple of years, or even the last couple of years, things have kind of changed to where I think that, I don't know, like Tanner mentioned that was an issue for him with grip competitions, was just, finding something to get up for.
I will tell you, like, I mean, it looks better to me from the glance. Like, I have seen some really, really impressive, especially that 80, 90 kilo weight classes right now. There are some really, really good competitors stepping in. 100 kilos is probably where I'm always going to be lifting at. And I think that we're going to probably see a resulting super competitive group. If you look at who's currently cooking in that batch right now, and then you look at who do we get tomorrow, because nobody knows, and you factor in some people that have just been maybe waiting to see the waters look a little deeper, I could very much see a very competitive season come out between what we're seeing right now. Like, there's a lot of great enthusiasm. I'm gauging it really just in case of what I'm actually witnessing. So there's probably a lot of great things that I'm not seeing at all. There's at least enough people right now that are cute enough with their little state or city or weight class world champion that call themselves, and every lift in their barn is a world. Man, there's enough people coming up that if nothing else, I'd like to at least come out and see how are these guys doing on a competition day, just because they're breaking so many world records on Instagram every day that it makes me curious,
No, Adam, I've already caught a lot of shit for jumping in and calling out some of the records and all whatever. But
Hey, you know what? Hey, let every person be convinced in their own mind, dude. If it can be a world record, like, you honestly want to be credited as the world record for lifts that are done without any kind of contest criteria or certified anything, and that's just then cool. And the thing is, hey man, if everything can be the record, then the record ain't worth a shit anyway, and you might as well call yourself it's
no.
how prestigious do you guys want your sport to be? You know what I mean? Do you want it to be a fucking joke where people that have never even been to any contest ever are now declaring themselves record holders, lifting shit in who knows where, and you don't even know what weighs what? If y'all are cool with that as a community, then I have to at least say the community likes it, so whatever. That's why I do think events like the Arnold are particularly relevant, because the greatest thing that we got, by via the way of like World's Strongest Hands and King Kong, is the ability that we can all play together with at the starting point was more of that, kind of a gentleman's agreement, and the idea that everybody is really just trying to do the best that they can and perform. And then we found out over the years that that's not always the case, and that's all fine and well. And I love virtual and I love digital and I love all that, but the actual formats that are big enough draws to get everybody to come out to one place are really wonderful events. And I think it's going to be fun. I see that Ivan Krivik is going to be coming out from Russia to the Arnold. So I'm going to tell you all right now, if you're in 110 weight class, you're going to get the shit stomped out of you. Like you don't even know what's going to happen. That motherfucker is so strong, bro.
Well, there's also Adam. I don't want to string this out too long on you, man. I'm sorry, but there's also another cat from Estonia, Marcus Manick. He won the 110 kilo last year at the Arnold.
Yeah.
Dude, he went to the Immortal Grip Wars in Sweden against everybody. I think he pinched 300 on a 2-inch Saxon. Marcus Manick is nasty. So like, if Ivan Krivik gets put in that 110 class and doesn't make the 100 kilo, depending on where he's at, if those two line up at 110, that will be a pretty serious battle.
I'll tell you, the video,
That's
Ivan
wild.
put up a couple days ago on IG, he's looking pretty big. Now he might be able to get away with pounds
Bro.
drop, flying and tough, but dude, he looks big as shit right now, and I think that's going to be an exciting battle.
No, yeah, especially if those guys go head to head, it probably are going to be 110s. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe we'll do a. Well, I don't have to see how it unfolds. I'm going to be there, kind of spectating and hanging out and watching some stuff. So yeah, we'll see who all shows up. But yeah, it's guaranteed there's going to be some top end lifters there. Even if a few are missing or can't make it, it still usually always delivers. So yeah, no, I look forward to it, man. And yeah, Adam, I'll get you back on. Yeah, as soon as we can, whenever we get something kind of interesting to discuss or get some other people on the same page. And yeah, man, love to bring you back on. So thanks for your time today.
Groovy. Hey, anybody who made it this far, thanks for coming out, man. Let us know if we can help you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, if you made it this far, you definitely earned it.